So the world gets rocked by earthquakes and dungeons pop up everywhere. From these dungeons, monsters swarm out, totally immune to normal weapons. This only defense. People who got supernatural powers called skills. By killing monsters, these guys level up and get crazy strong, and they became known as the Awakened Flame Master. Original. I know. Cut to our boy facing down a goblin with a spiky club. This is Kisaragi Tsukasa, level 4, with a skill called Imitate. He goes in for the attack, sword glowing with power, landing a solid hit right on the goblin's chest. But his Imitate skill fails to copy anything. Whoops. Kisaragi is completely stunned by the failure, which gives the goblin a perfect opening to smash his face in. Suddenly, a fireball zips past, saving the day, and some new guy saves him, immediately calling him trash for struggling. This smug dude is Todo Kakeru, a level 15 Flame Master. Of course he is. Apparently, he is the shining star of the new generation. Because in this world, skills determine and awakens rank and power. Todo tells Kisaragi to stop moping and be useful for once, and our boy just has to take it, saying got it. Meanwhile, Todo just smirks, flexing his super powerful fire skill. So Kisaraga's Imitate skill lets him copy a monster's power after touching it, but the success rate is garbage and he has to get right in their face to even try. Which he admits makes it a seriously flawed skill, no kidding. His party members, a couple of real winners, are telling him to just quit already. When Todo the Shining Star steps in with a fake "we are all comrades" speech, then immediately whispers that Kisaragi should try to make his trash skill useful. What a guy. Our boy is just taking it, remembering why he is even here. It is all for his little sister Mayu, who has been sick her whole life. And he is hunting for a mythical elixir that can cure anything. So yeah, giving up is absolutely not an option for him. Back in the dungeon, the lackeys ask Todo what the plan is, and Todo, standing over a fresh kill, says they are hitting the monster's den, revealing his true goal is to just loot all the treasure for himself. Shocking. He then proceeds to barbecue an entire room of goblins with a massive fire blast, instantly leveling up to 16 just from wiping out low-level mobs. Leaving Kisaragi watching from the sidelines, completely powerless, because he cannot even beat one monster alone to get XP, and in a party, Todo just nukes everything before he can even move, making him realize this whole expedition is a total waste of his time, while the rest of the team finds a mountain of gold, totally ignoring him. While the lackeys celebrate the mountain of gold, Kisaragi just watches, but Todo ignores the loot, walking toward a dead-end wall, and then punches it with a massive fiery explosion, revealing a secret golden door to a bonus room. These hidden areas are packed with powerful items, but they are also rigged with traps that can kill you instantly. His party members get nervous, asking how they will get past the traps, and Todo just smirks, saying he's got a great idea, which apparently starts with sneaking up on Kisaragi. Without warning, he decks our boy right across the face, following up with a brutal kick that sends him flying. Todo stands over him with the fakest apology ever, then grabs Kisaragi by the throat and lifts him off the ground. With a terrifying smile, he reveals the plan. Kisaragi will die for them. Even his cronies are shocked, realizing he is using him as a human minesweeper, but Todo just calls it recycling, a useless piece of trash. What a guy. This two lackeys immediately grab Kisaragi and drag him forward, throwing him straight through the doorway into the trapped room. With a final smug grin, Todo tells him they will meet again if he survives, and Kisaragi, seething, has a very simple two-word reply for him. Kisaragi hits the floor, cursing his luck inside the trap room, when the whole place suddenly erupts in a strange blue light. He is totally baffled as the energy swirls harmlessly around him, but his eyes narrow with a sudden dawning realization. This is not a trap room, it is some kind of massive hidden coliseum. And from the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes says he is not alone. A quick primer on dungeon ranks pops into his head, scaling all the way from beginner to the terrifying heroic tier. And then there is a final rank no one's ever cleared, mythic, home to a level 80 god eater Fenrir. So the trap in a low-level dungeon led him here. Yeah, the universe has a great sense of humor. Despite facing a literal god monster, Kisaragi clenches his fist, because giving up is just not an option for him. He flashes back to the day his parents died, leaving him as the only family his little sister Mayu had left. For her sake, he absolutely refuses to die in a place like this. So he charges the giant wolf head-on with his sword, all guts, zero plan. In a wild leap, he manages to touch the monster's snout, triggering his skill with a massive flash of light, only to get completely wrecked and slammed into a wall. And the system message confirms it. His Imitate skill failed again, because of course it did. Kisaragi stares down the god monster, thinking this is the end, but even beaten and bloody, he refuses to die here. Flashing back to his sister Mayu, his whole reason for fighting, and with blood in his eye, his resolve hardens into pure defiance. Just then, Fenrir gets absolutely shattered by some unseen force, leaving Kisaragi completely baffled as the giant wolf collapses. When a mysterious voice calls Fenrir a good boy, suddenly a pair of high heels steps into the arena, because of course they do, and a white-haired woman tells her giant death wolf to be gentle, calling our boy an important guest with a very suspicious smile. She formally welcomes him to her castle, looking every bit the final boss, and Kisaragi, still processing not being dead, just asks who she is. He is just a bloody mess on the floor looking up at this dungeon queen, who seems pretty amused he is not in more pieces, but she also says he is way too weak for whatever she has planned, so she just grabs his face without any warning and gives him a present by kissing him, which is a choice. A massive magic circle explodes around the mid-kiss as she tells him to be grateful while his eye starts glowing with power, and boom, his trash skill evolves and he is about to power level like crazy. Kisaraga's system window just explodes. He has jumped 21 levels and his skill evolved to copycat. Our boy is understandably having a complete what the hell moment, while the Dungeon Queen just watches, clearly enjoying the show. With her gift delivered, she announces she is taking off, and just starts to walk away, leaving him in the dust. But Kisaragi, bleeding and desperate, grabs her dress demanding an explanation. Her only answer is a simple mission: use the new power to defeat Fenrir. Telling him that is his one-way ticket out of this mythic dungeon. Then she vanishes in a puff of dark magic because of course she does, leaving Kisaragi to face down the very angry, very large god wolf. Fenrir immediately lunges, claws glowing with pure destructive energy. Kisaragi barely gets his sword up in time to block the massive swipe. At that exact moment, his new copycat skill activates on its own, bathing him in a brilliant blue light as power surges through him. This system confirms it is targeting God Eater Fenrir for a skill copy, which is great and all, but Kisaragi is still staring down certain death. He stands his ground against the beast, sword ready for another clash, when a look of pure disbelief crosses his face. This system confirms it actually worked. He successfully copied the skill, and what a skill it is. Heavenly Authority, a 1-minute god tier power-up. Kisaragi realizes he might actually be able to win this. But the god mode buff has a 1-minute timer, meaning he has to pick the perfect moment to strike. Fenrir immediately blitzes him, a whirlwind of claws and fangs, but Kisaragi is now fast enough to weave through the attacks. His new level makes him feel weightless, reacting instantly. This kid is still reeling from the fact his skill actually worked for once, flashing back to the old imitate with its garbage success rate. While copycat is a 100% success rate that lets him keep the skill, which is great, but Fenrir's now using some kind of pressure attack. Kisaragi gets hit with a wave of pure force that locks him in place, and as he is being crushed, his copycat skill triggers again, nabbing him a new intimidation skill that paralyses opponents, and he finally gets it. Experiencing a skill means taking it to the face. A painful lesson that almost had him crying, just as Fenrir unleashes a massive attack called Vanargand. Our boy braces himself for whatever fresh hell this is, which turns out to be a tidal wave of pure destructive energy, ripping massive gouges into the stone floor of the Colosseum. He knows if even one of those claws touches him, he is toast. Fenrir lets out a furious roar, ready to end this, while Kisaragi barely holds on against a storm of claw strikes, and he knows his stamina is about to give out completely, because tanking another hit to copy a skill is just suicide. But then he remembers the god tier buff he already copied, Heavenly Authority, which is great because Fenrir's winding up another killer blow, so our boy decides it is officially go time, no more holding back. With a shout, he activates Heavenly Authority, unleashing a torrent of blue energy, meeting the Godwolf's attack head-on in a massive explosion, and his copycat skill snags Fenrir's ultimate move. Vanargand, his eyes glow with borrowed power, blood still dripping down his face. A system window pops up. He's got exactly 60 seconds of God mode left. Wasting no time, he leaps into the air to unleash his new toy, bringing his sword down with all the power of a god monster. This Heavenly Authority skill is making him feel absolutely invincible, but Fenrir roars back, not about to go down without a fight. Kisaraga's attack smashes the ground, the timer already down to 30 seconds, and he realizes his window of opportunity is closing fast. Facing off against the beast with only 20 seconds left on the clock, then Fenrir starts charging a massive energy blast. The race is on. Kisaragi roars, ready to give the wolf a taste of its own ultimate attack, and both unleash Vanargand in a cataclysmic explosion of energy. But our boy gets completely overpowered, skidding back under the raw force. He realizes the level gap is just too huge for a ranged duel to work, so with the clock ticking, he plants his feet for a mad dash. Deciding to just hit the godwolf directly, a truly flawless strategy. His sword connects but does absolutely nothing, which is not great. With only 8 seconds left, Fenrir just looks annoyed and retaliates with a massive counterblast of its own, launching Kisaragi into the air with the timer now at 6 seconds. He uses the momentum to prep a final, desperate dive bomb, but Fenrir fires a beam to intercept him because it is not an idiot. Yet somehow the wolf is the one that ends up screaming in pain. Our boy lands right on its head, sword poised to finish the job, vowing to end this with just 3 seconds left on the clock. This timer hits 0 just as he brings the blade down for the kill, plunging his sword straight into the monster's skull. At that exact moment, Copycat activates again, nabbing a skill called Wordplay, and who should reappear but the Dungeon Queen, looking very impressed by the show. Giving a little snap of her fingers as if to say scene, this Dungeon Queen declares the fight over, suggesting a tea party because that is normal. Our boy, standing over the defeated Godwolf, just wants to know what the hell is going on. Her reason is simple: she was bored, which is not a reassuring answer. Apparently her massive castle does not get many visitors, because her giant death pet usually murders them on sight. Kisaragi is just trying to process being called special by a supervillain when she steps forward with a request for him. Getting all up in his face again, she says she wants to see the outside world, but the low mana out there is a problem, so she needs his cooperation. And Kisaragi, with zero hesitation, just says alright. This actually catches the dungeon queen completely off guard, who is not expecting him to be so agreeable about the whole thing. He knows she is shady, but also that siding with her is his best bet for survival, so he just asks how exactly this little field trip is supposed to work. But his vision starts to go blurry before he gets an answer. Loki catches him as he collapses from pure exhaustion, and with his last bit of consciousness, he asks for her name. With a smile, she introduces herself. Her name is Loki. As he fades, she says she is looking forward to working with him. Next thing he knows, he is waking up to the classic unfamiliar ceiling shot. Kisaragi wakes up in a hospital to a girl at his bedside, who is immediately offended he does not recognize her. And it is Loki, except she is in a much younger, more compact form. Our boy's brain finally catches up. It is the dungeon queen, who tells him to drop the honorifics because they are pals now, apparently. Then she climbs right onto his bed, getting way too close for comfort, making some very suggestive promises while he just begs her to get off. Kisaragi, trying to steer the conversation away from whatever that was, asks what happened. She explains she teleported his unconscious body to a beginner dungeon. But the concept of a hospital is completely foreign to her, not a great sign. Her genius plan was to just leave him there, hoping some random adventurer would find him and do the rest, a truly flawless strategy. So he asks the obvious question, why has a teleporter never been outside? Loki reveals that as a god, she needs a ton of mana to maintain her true form, and outside her realm, she is stuck in this kid-sized body. Kisaragi points out she'd probably just get taken in by the police, which earns him a very painful cheek pinch for his sass. He asks again why she helped, and it is all about needing his cooperation. But she is already opening a portal, tabling that discussion for later. And with a flick of her wrist, she starts to vanish once more. Loki signs off, promising not to intrude on his family time, and her portal vanishes, leaving a wisp of dark smoke behind, leaving Kisaragi completely baffled by the whole encounter. When a young woman appears in the doorway, calling his name Tsukasa, he recognizes her immediately. It is his sister, Mayu. She rushes over and throws her arms around him, overcome with relief, revealing he has been in a coma for an entire week. He is stunned by how long he was out, apologizing for making her worry, while Mayu just clings to him, terrified of being left all alone, so he promises he is not going anywhere because they are all each other has. Her relief is palpable, a small, teary smile finally breaking through. After a moment, she tells him to rest up before she has to go, adding with a wink that she has been feeling great lately, totally not suspicious at all. And Kisaragi just lets out a sigh, calling her a handful as always. Of course, Loki immediately materializes to ask if that was his sister, and he confirms that Mayu is the only family he has left. We get a flashback to a younger Mayu, sick and coughing up blood, as Kisaragi explains she has had a chronic illness since birth. This doctors basically gave up, saying there was no cure for her condition, which is the real reason he has been risking his life in dungeons to find a miracle medicine. Loki drops a bomb that miracle medicine he is after will not work on his sister, and Kisaragi's entire world just shatters, demanding to know what she means. Turns out Mayu's illness is actually a dungeon's curse, which is way, way worse. And she clarifies it stems from a skill, not just some random bad luck. This caster, she casually mentions, has to be another mythocrank being great, another god to fight. Kisaragi immediately gets it. Kill the god, break the curse, a totally simple and achievable goal. With a smug little smile, Loki confirms his deadly new plan is correct, so he calls her by name, dropping the honorifics, which seems to get her attention. With new resolve, he asks for her help to defeat the god who cursed Mayu. Loki takes a dramatic pause to think it over before finally agreeing to the deal. She will help him, admitting she is also just curious who is behind the whole thing. And our boy looks genuinely grateful, a small smile breaking through the stress. Her training plan is aggressive, conquer dungeons daily to prep for a mythocrank boss. But Kisaragi points out a tiny problem called school, a concept that completely baffles the ancient god. He explains it is a special academy just for training up-and-coming adventurers. Loki just stares, probably wondering why anyone would choose homework over monster slaying. And they seal the deal, officially becoming a team to take on a god. 3 days later, they are at the JDMO, where bureaucracy immediately shuts them down, because the receptionist denies his solo entry, citing the level difference while Loki peeks over the counter. Apparently, there is a rule against solo players fighting anything stronger than them, a rule he is definitely about to ignore. This receptionist helpfully explains that same-level fights are fair. But fighting anything stronger is basically asking to get flattened. She then points out he is only level 4, while the dungeon's monsters are all level 5. It is a tiny difference, but her hands are tied. Rules are rules, you know. Loki, however, offers to solve this bureaucratic issue with extreme violence. But Kisaragi reminds her their whole plan was to not reveal their true power. He is ready to just leave, but Loki has a much better, rule-breaking idea, telling him to try out that wordplay skill he copied from her earlier. Our boy knows using skills in the lobby is a huge no-no, yet with his tiny god partner's encouragement, he decides to risk it. He politely asks again to enter the dungeon, and wordplay flares to life. Instantly, the receptionist's brain just reboots, agreeing to his request without a second thought. Kisaragi is shocked it worked, while Loki smugly explains the skill is undetectable. Because it is a god's power, so of course it is subtle. He is genuinely impressed, finally giving Loki the respect she deserves, though she still seems to sense a hint of sass in his praise. With the bureaucracy handled, they finally approach the dungeon gate, a massive glowing portal that can connect to any dungeon in the world. His D-card gets scanned and approved without a single hitch, and as the gate activates, Kisaragi steels himself for whatever comes next. To break Mayu's curse, Kisaragi is ready for anything, declaring he will even kill a god if that is what it takes. They step into the dungeon, a place called the Goblin's Den, and Loki's genius plan is to just see how far he can go now, when their first opponent immediately makes an appearance. A standard, angry-looking level 5 goblin, our boy draws his sword, ready to test his strength, and a status window reveals he is now level 25, a slight upgrade from level 4. He charges forward with a burst of speed, slicing clean through the goblin in a single, fluid motion, and just like that, the monster is down for the count. Loki is, of course, completely unimpressed by this warm-up, but Kisaragi is just thrilled to finally beat a goblin by himself. She reminds him he is level 25 now, so of course he'd win, revealing she gave him a massive mana particle infusion, which is why he can now beat the same monsters that used to wreck him, taking them down without even breaking a sweat. He gives her a genuine thank you, which she smugly accepts, before immediately asking what his next move is, and Kisaragi, full of resolve, says they are heading deeper. Kisaragi is locked in, declaring their only goal is to reach the boss room, so they descend into the Goblin's Den, floor 5. Loki, meanwhile, is already bored out of her tiny mind, just floating down the stairs and complaining about the lack of action. Because apparently she was hoping for a bloodbath, not a casual stroll, and her serious issue is that he is now too strong for these weaklings. But then her eyes narrow, sensing something up ahead, as the main force finally decides to make an appearance, revealing a whole welcoming committee of angry goblins, a truly charming sight. Our boy does not even hesitate, leaping right into the fray. His strategy simple: strike first, ask questions never. He carves through them with ease, a total blur of blue energy, admitting he was worried about facing a mob like this before. But now it is just a walk in the park, a very violent park. This goblins just keep coming, screaming their little goblin hearts out, an entire tidal wave of them rushing forward to overwhelm him, and Kisaraga's only reaction is to call it a hassle, peak protagonist energy. His sword begins to crackle with some seriously dark power, catching Loki off guard. And she screams for him to stop, realizing he is about to do something reckless. But it is too late. He unleashes a massive attack called Vanargand. This Vanargand attack just obliterates everything in a blue shockwave, carving a massive smoking trench right through the dungeon floor, and our boy is super proud of his new move right before his body overloads with red energy. Suddenly, he is on his knees, completely wrecked by the backlash. And Loki is right there with a classic "I told you so, you fool." She explains that is the price for a weak human using god-tier skills, but he is confused, because he can only use Fenrir's skills when heavenly authority is active. With a smug little look, she confirms his realization is correct, before officially forbidding him from using heavenly authority or any of Fenrir's skills. A system notification pops up. His best skills are now sealed for a minute, much to his shock. She calls it a handicap to stop him from spamming his ultimate move, and she is just loving his suffering as he grumbles about trickster gods. They finally reach the boss room, which has some seriously oversized fancy doors, where the Goblin King waits as the final test for any aspiring adventurer. Kisaragi steels himself, ready to take on the challenge. And there he is, the Goblin King himself, looking way too smug for his own good. Drawing his sword, Kisaragi notes he is supposed to be scared but feels nothing, because this so-called king is only level 15, a total pushover. This boss finally gets to its feet, ready to fight, but it seems he brought a few friends along for the party. This Goblin King and his entire entourage suddenly power up, glowing with pure rage, but Kisaragi is not even phased, thinking this is nothing compared to Fenrir. A system message flares to life, stoking the flames of anger. And just like that, the entire Goblin squad enters a berserk state. Fantastic. He immediately spins on Loki, demanding to know what she just pulled, who just gives him the most diabolical grin, calling it a test. Our boy is, understandably, a little stressed by this sudden pop quiz, but a grim smile shows he is ready for the challenge anyway. Facing the now enormous boss, he mutters that she is one Spartan god, because this Goblin King is now officially in full-on rage mode. Loki just doubles down with that same smug look, telling him to do his best, and Kisaragi just has to accept his fate under his very intense new trainer. This horde of berserk goblins comes screaming toward him, so Kisaragi just charges right back at them without hesitation. Meanwhile, Loki's thinking if he cannot win this without his god skills, he is basically useless to her. He becomes a whirlwind of blue energy, cutting a path through the mob, easily parrying a wild club swing from an enraged goblin, which only seems to make the little monster even angrier. Kisaragi unleashes a massive, sweeping arc of power with his sword, sending a whole wave of goblins flying as he stands his ground. He is still cutting through the mob with wide, sweeping attacks, but the berserk goblins are no longer going down in one hit, and Kisaragi realizes Loki's buff has made this a real fight. Meanwhile, the Goblin King is just getting angrier, glowing with purple rage, acting as a power-up beacon for his entire screaming army, and with a final roar, the boss himself finally charges forward. Our boy quickly figures out the problem. The king can summon endless reinforcements, because right on cue, a fresh batch of goblins pops into existence. To make things even better, every single summon gets the same berserk buff. so he knows he is stuck in a war of attrition unless he takes out the king. His new plan is simple: shut down the boss's skills entirely. So he reaches out and uses wordplay to tell the king to stop using his abilities. This god-tier skill activates instantly, wrapping the Goblin King in blue chains, completely sealing his magic and leaving him just a big, angry brute. This boss is absolutely furious, roaring as he struggles against the seal. But even without skills, he still swings that massive club with everything he has got. Kisaragi just barely manages to parry the massive blow, straining against the raw, overwhelming power of the Berserk King. But the sheer force is too much and his sword shatters on impact, leaving him completely disarmed and staring at the broken hilt in shock. Loki admits his skill-sealing plan was good, too bad she buffed the boss, who then gives him the most punchable grin in history. And Kisaragi slowly puts together the horrifying truth. His wordplay skill did not actually seal anything at all. Right on cue, the entire goblin army flares up, ready for round 2. As she reminds him his ultimate target is a god, so this is just training, telling him he'd better learn to turn the tables in impossible situations. His thoughts drift to Mayu, the whole reason he is even here, realizing if he cannot beat this, saving her is just a pipe dream. Loki then asks if he can still fight, being disarmed and all, and our boy just grunts out a simple yeah, before forming a brand new sword out of pure blue energy. His eyes glow with cold fury, thinking an eye for an eye, unleashing a storm of light speed slashes through the goblin horde, zipping through the air like a blur of absolute destruction, which only seems to make the Goblin King even more furious, while Kisaragi is completely in the zone, a feral grin on his face. This boss's eye goes blood red, clearly done playing games, letting out one final earth-shattering roar and unleashes a massive shockwave of pure, concentrated rage. He smirks, realizing the boss just used its special skill, which is Summon Underling, a power he is about to abuse, because our boy just decides he is going to steal it for himself. His copycat skill activates, successfully yoinking the boss's ability, and now armed with summoning, he calls forth his own minion. Dropping a massive magic circle right in the middle of the goblin army, he has got this curious look, wondering what kind of monster he will get. As a blinding light erupts from the summoning portal, and out pops a paw, a snout, something blue and fluffy. It is a tiny, adorable wolf pup, much to his utter confusion. This little guy just looks up at him with the biggest, cutest eyes, then immediately starts nuzzling his leg like a lost puppy. Meanwhile, Loki is absolutely losing it, laughing her head off in the background, and Kisaragi just has this look of pure, unadulterated, "Are you kidding me?" He then realizes this is a mini version of Fenrir, the mythic beast he fought before. But the goblin horde is not waiting, roaring as they charge forward again. This tiny wolf pup just barks and charges right back at them, leaping bravely into the path of a massive, overwhelming attack. And the resulting explosion sends Kisaragi flying, completely caught off guard. He just lies there laughing at the sheer absurdity of it all. But out of the smoke, the little wolf pup is all wags and smiles. And Kisaragi kneels down, giving his new extremely fluffy summon a pat. He asks if it'll fight by his side, getting an enthusiastic bark in return. With a new plan, he tells the little guy to handle the mob. He has got the king. They both take off in opposite directions, ready to divide and conquer. This tiny wolf just launches itself into the entire goblin army, a true hero. That leaves Kisaragi to face the boss, finally getting his one-on-one. This goblin king immediately brings its massive club down with a furious roar, but our boy meets the blow head-on, sparks flying everywhere. He is straining under the sheer weight of the attack, barely holding on, gritting his teeth as his eyes glow with raw power, pushing back. A massive arc of blue energy sends the Berserk King stumbling backward, and the reflection in his eye shows the boss is wide open now. He zips past in a blur, landing a deep slash across the king's leg. This sends the huge boss crashing down to one knee, absolutely livid. Its eyes are just glowing with pure, unadulterated rage. Meanwhile, the wolf pup stands victorious on a mountain of defeated goblins. Kisaragi takes a moment to breathe, standing over the crippled king. Channeling power into his sword for the finishing blow, then drives the blade straight down for the kill shot. Kisaragi signals his fluffy new partner for the pincer attack, and the tiny wolf latches onto the king's arm with surprising ferocity, giving our boy the perfect opening from above to drive his energy blade straight through the boss's skull. This king goes up in a flash of light, leaving Kisaragi standing in the dust. Loki's post-game analysis is basically, "Do not get cocky, kid." And he just quietly agrees, knowing this is only the start. He still soloed a dungeon, vowing to get even stronger from here, all while thinking about Mayu, his ultimate motivation. But Loki's got priorities, immediately asking what he is gonna name his new pet. So Kisaragi thinks for a second before landing on Lufin. This little guy absolutely loves his new name, practically sparkling with joy, even if Kisaragi admits it is just a lazy anagram of Fenrir. With the dungeon cleared, he decides to cash in and get a gift for Mayu, though Loki immediately puts in her own request for sweets. At the exchange counter, the receptionist is completely floored he cleared a dungeon alone, but Kisaragi just calmly presents the magic stones for cash, and she agrees to process the exchange, still trying to compute what just happened. Her face is practically screaming, how did a level 4 do this? Kisaragi just brushes it off, ready to head home with his earnings. Just as he is about to leave, Kisaragi's train of thought gets derailed, because he spots some drama unfolding by the elevators. Some wannabe tough guy is trying to recruit a girl for his team, and the girl in question is Hoshigane, looking completely unbothered. Our boy immediately recognizes her. She is the #1 awakened student, Hoshigane Rin, the academy's top talent and a total celebrity, who proceeds to shut the guy down cold, not even giving him the time of day. Kisaragi cannot help but smirk at the absolutely brutal rejection, but then Hoshigane turns looking for someone else in the crowd, which leaves the rejected goons totally confused, because she is pointing straight at Kisaragi. Walking right up, she asks him to wait a second, and says she did not expect to run into him here at all, then immediately corrects herself, she came looking for him specifically. Turns out a certain receptionist called her about a level 4 soloing a dungeon, and she gives him this look like, you know who I am talking about, right? This is Hoshigane Rin, his classmate and the school's top prodigy, who is also a media sensation way out of what he considers his league. Putting him on the spot, she basically asks him to confess, and he realizes the receptionist must have snitched the second his skill wore off. Kisaraga's brain finally catches up, the receptionist totally snitched on him. Hoshigane cuts right to the chase, asking to see his D-card for proof, leaning in with a very suggestive unless. She gets right in his personal space, asking if he's got something to hide, and his flustered reaction just makes her more suspicious, of course. Loki's inner commentary is not helping, accusing him of being easily seduced, so he tries to play it cool, but the panic is definitely showing. Putting on a brave face, he agrees to just show her the card. Just as he reaches for his pocket, a new problem arrives, because the rejected goon squad is back for round 2. Their leader, a guy named Todo, steps up like he owns the place, and Kisaragi immediately recognizes the jerk who abandoned him in the dungeon. Todo acts all chummy, glad to see Kisaragi is safe, while his buddies even call Kisaragi a party member, the absolute nerve. Our boy is just seething as Hoshigane watches the drama unfold, but Todo quickly pivots back to his main goal, recruiting the school's #1. He lays on the charm, promising they will be the strongest team ever, but Hoshigane just completely ignores him, asking Kisaragi for his card again. This look on Todo's face is pure unadulterated rejection, leaving Kisaragi to happily hand over his card. Mission accomplished. Hoshigane examines the card, her expression dead serious. And the stats check out: level 15, 1 dungeon cleared. She confirms her hunch, pretty impressed he actually soloed the whole thing. Behind them, Todo's crew is absolutely losing their minds at the news, while Kisaraga's just glad his fake D-card worked, though Loki wants her credit. With a thoughtful look, Hoshigane compliments his hidden talent, and our boy just sweats, trying to play it off like it was all Loki's doing. But Todo, the same jerk who ditched him, storms in screaming that he is a liar, getting right in his face, accusing him of cheating and demanding he fess up. Hoshigane just turns with the most "are you an idiot" look I have ever seen, reminding the genius that D-cards cannot be faked, shutting him down flat. Then she pivots right back to Kisaragi, noting he is a free agent now, and straight up invites him to form a party with her, the school's #1. Both Kisaragi and Todo are just completely short-circuiting at this offer, prompting Todo to start ranting, absolutely furious she'd pick Kisaragi over him. He is still trying to sell his team up, promising they'd be unstoppable, only for Hoshigane to hit him with an ice cold "are you done yet?" She lays it out plain. Kisaragi has results while Todo just messes around. Stepping closer to Kisaragi, she gets ready to deliver the final blow. And with a killer smile tells Todo she never liked him anyway. Brutal. Todo's crew is just stunned as Hoshigane adds one last thing. Pointing right at him, she says she knows all about his little stunts. We get a flashback to Todo's psycho smile as he left Kisaragi for dead, abandoning our boy on the dungeon floor without a second thought. Back in the present, Todo grabs Kisaragi, screaming about being ratted out, but Kisaragi just calmly wonders how to handle this little tantrum. This of course makes Todo even angrier, so he throws a wild punch, which Kisaragi dodges with a casual lean, his eyes glowing blue. Todo is left completely dumbfounded by the sudden display of skill, so he powers up a fireball, ready to escalate things like a rational adult. Kisaragi tries to de-escalate, but the guy's already in full rage mode, screaming "shut up" as he unleashes his attack in the middle of the lobby, only for Hoshigane to step in and block the whole thing with one hand. Our boy is just as surprised as anyone to see her intervene, and Todo's face is a perfect picture of "oh crap, I messed up." Hoshigane reminds the genius that using skills here is super illegal, so Todo immediately starts pointing fingers, blaming Kisaragi for everything. She is just amazed at the sheer audacity, face-palming at his stupidity. Deciding she has had enough, Hoshigane just grabs Kisaragi's hand to leave, dragging a very confused Kisaragi away from the scene of the crime. Todo's left seething, vowing to rip off Kisaragi's mask, because in his mind, Hoshigane is totally his property. What a creep. Next thing you know, Kisaraga's been dragged with her into a beginner dungeon, which is the Kobold settlement recommended for level 15s, and our boy has absolutely no idea what her game plan is. Hoshigane, meanwhile, looks completely unbothered by the welcoming committee, telling Kisaragi to just sit back and watch a pro at work. In a flash, she launches herself into the mob, a total blur of motion, unleashing a flurry of golden slashes that just shreds through them all, leaving Kisaragi to just watch in awe as she clears the field. Even Loki is impressed, recognizing her high-powered HPR sword, and with the grunts gone, Hoshigane tells Kisaragi it is his turn now. She is basically demanding he show her what he is capable of, so Kisaragi powers up his own energy blade for the test. But his first swing gets blocked flat by the Kobold's shield. This monster immediately counters with a heavy downward slash, forcing our boy to dodge and weave, showing off his footwork. From the sidelines, Hoshigane offers some helpful advice on Kobold tactics, explaining there are two ways to beat a shield bearer: brute force, or as Kisaragi demonstrates, finding a way around it entirely, using his speed to dance right around the monster's defense. While Hashigane explains the move, basically narrating his fight back to him, his eyes flare blue as he lands a clean, perfect strike, and she is officially impressed, thinking he is a keeper for her team. With the test over, she gives him a polite little round of applause, then gets way too close, offering him the big one, which is her flirty way of saying he gets to fight the miniboss. They square up against the Kobold General, a seriously beefy level 15. And naturally, the big guy brought his entire armored entourage with him. Her plan is simple: clear out the grunts before tackling the boss. So they dive right in, cutting a path through the Kobold army, but the general answers with a huge cleaver swing, forcing them back, and our boy realizes fighting the followers is completely pointless. Hashigane's impressed he caught on, immediately turning it into another test, which he aces, wipe the board, then hit the boss hard. Together, they unleash a massive combo attack, a storm of blue and gold energy. And in the middle of all this, she asks if his guild minds him being here. Great timing. Before he can even process the question, she casually drops that she is quitting her own guild. Kisaraga's brain just short-circuits, but Hashigane tells him to focus up, just in time to block a bone-crushing blow from the general. Kisaragi slides in low, aiming a strike at the general's back, and lands a deep, punishing slash right across its gut. He yells for Hashigane to follow up, setting up the combo, but a fresh wave of kobolds literally drops in to ruin the party. In an instant, they are completely surrounded by the mob, this sheer number of enemies just stretching on forever. Hashigane lands, absolutely furious at the interruption. All this annoyance just reminds her of Todo, making her even madder, and she starts ranting about his gall to even ask her to team up. Her logic is simple: if she has to party with jerks, she'd rather go solo. Our boy is stunned, asking if she is really leaving the biggest guild out there. She turns dead serious and confirms it without a hint of doubt. This guild just has too much drama, way more stress than it is worth. Looking at the mob, she decides they are the perfect outlet for her frustration. She explains her special skill is a wide-range attack, great for clearing rooms. Then begins to cast, calling upon the power of the stars. With glowing eyes, she commands them to rain down from the heavens, unleashing a meteor shower of pure energy that just vaporizes the horde. Kisaragi is left speechless, finally seeing the power of the school's number one. Feeling totally refreshed, she suggests a quick break before the final boss. Hashigane starts a little story time, asking about Japan's great hero. And Kisaragi knows the name, only for her to drop that he is her grandpa. Apparently, Grandpa also gave her that ridiculously cool sword she uses, telling her all about his legendary party and their grand adventures, and now she wants that same kind of epic journey for herself. Our boy is just completely captivated by this whole new side of her. So she reveals her big plan: she is starting her own guild soon, asking him directly to be a part of it, the ultimate recruitment pitch. Kisaragi, blushing like a tomato, stammers out a yes, of course. With that settled, Hashigane declares break time over boss room awaits. They step into the final chamber, but Kisaragi spots something off, because Todo and his crew are already here, acting like they own the place. This creep smirks, saying he was waiting just for Hashigane, before immediately calling Kisaragi an incompetent piece of crap. Hashigane just deadpans, asking what the hell he is even doing here. He puts on a show, claiming he is here to help his irreplaceable friends. The nerve. Kisaraga's thoughts are just screaming hypocrite at that line, and Hashigane is clearly not buying a single word of it either. Todo keeps bragging about how his dad bought them all new gear. So Hashigane just cuts him off, offering him first crack at the boss, go on, big shot. Hashigane explains the unwritten rule: first to the boss gets the kill. And naturally, Todo takes this as his cue to monologue about his future glory. They decide to just hang back and let the clowns have their show for a bit. While Loki's watching this whole thing on a monitor like it is reality TV, she is absolutely not impressed with Todo's brain-dead performance. Her eyes flare red, completely done with this arrogant brat's attitude. Back in the dungeon, the final boss makes its grand entrance, the Kobold King. This guy can summon underlings because of course he can, plus he is packing a nasty-looking thundering blade skill. With a battle cry, Todo's crew dives right into the fray. Even Kisaragi has to admit they are actually pretty strong, landing some big hits. And for a second it looks like they might actually pull this off. Todo turns to Hashigane, bragging mid-fight like the genius he is, just as a creepy system message pops up about a tyrant of destruction. Our boy Kisaragi is completely thrown, sensing something is very wrong. A sinister red aura suddenly surrounds the Kobold King, which roars, entering a full-on berserk state with a level boost. So Todo's brilliant plan is to just throw more fireballs at it. This king just eats the attack and swings its now electrified blade, sending Todo flying with a face full of lightning for his troubles. This king's electrified blade slams down, obliterating one of Todo's party, leaving his remaining teammates completely stunned and confused. But Kisaragi knows exactly who is behind this sudden difficulty spike: Loki. From her control room, she calls it a fitting punishment for their arrogance, and another one of Todo's crew gets absolutely ragdolled by the boss, which leaves Todo himself begging for his life. Not so tough now, are we? With glowing red eyes, the king moves in to finish the job, but Hashigane intercepts, blocking the massive cleaver at the last second. Even she is struggling, admitting its raw strength is just ridiculous, while Loki taunts Kisaragi, asking if he is really gonna let her die. This berserk king just grins, pouring on the pressure against her blade, so our boy finally makes his move, planting his foot to charge in. unleashing a massive wave of blue energy to break the stalemate. He tells the others to get Hashigane and Todo to safety, because he is taking this monster down all by himself. Todo naturally starts screaming that a piece of trash like him cannot win, but Kisaragi just ignores the peanut gallery ready for the fight. Hashigane, however, puts her full trust in him, agreeing to fall back, telling him not to push himself as the others help the wounded retreat. Kisaragi just sighs, wishing the god in his head would tone down the drama. Kisaraga's eye flares blue as he decides to call for backup, summoning his massive spirit wolf, Lufin, onto the battlefield. Todo absolutely loses his mind, having no clue what he is even looking at. While Hashigane's first thought is that the giant magic wolf is cute priorities, with his new partner ready, Kisaragi and Lufin charge the king, and he tells the wolf to handle the summoned kobolds. Lufin gives a very determined bark ready for action, as Kisaragi clashes head-on with the Berserk King's cleaver. This raw power of the blow sends him flying right off his feet. But he recovers midair, angling for another strike on the way down. He unleashes a huge vertical slash, pouring energy into the attack, only for the blade to barely scratch the king's hide. This just makes the boss roar, flaring with even more red energy, and a system window pops up. Kisaragi just copied its thundering blade skill. Hashigane and the others can only watch as he is suddenly wreathed in red lightning, so he gives Lufin the signal to attack in sync with him. Now glowing with the same furious red aura, the wolf lunges forward, landing a vicious bite right on the king's arm. This boss's eye glows with pure unadulterated fury, and it unleashes a massive shockwave, with Kisaragi thinking this is getting old. Kisaragi activates his newly copied Thundering Blade, a skill that basically turns him into a human stun grenade, and with lightning in his eyes he goes for the kill shot. This king's eye flares with rage, not a fan of this development. But our boy faces it down, declaring this is the end, unleashing a massive lightning blast to finish the job. And just like that, he is holding the boss drop, telling Hashigane it is over. She is completely stunned, wondering just who this guy really is. Back at home, Loki complains about him having to go to school, but he explains you need school to legally run dungeons, duh. He also hopes to find clues about the curse on someone named Mayu. Loki agrees that dungeon crawling is the fastest way to get stronger, revealing her shadowy form and her own interest in the academy. As he heads out, she promises to enjoy the show, not creepy at all. So it is off to Tenjetsu Academy, right into classroom 2A. He walks in, immediately getting the stink eye from a bunch of classmates, who are all whispering about how the failure is still alive. Kisaragi just sighs, knowing Todo's been running his mouth again. Suddenly, a familiar figure walks right up to his desk, and it is Hashigane, smiling and thanking him for yesterday's beatdown. Kisaragi plays it cool, thanking her for the invaluable practice, so she immediately suggests a harder dungeon, the Abode of the Dead. In her head, she's just trying to figure out his secrets and true power, and our boy knows she is onto him, regretting that flashy lightning show. Meanwhile, the rest of the class is gossiping about why she is with the failure. Hashigane just ignores them, asking if he is free to go right after school. But just then, someone new steps into the classroom, and of course it is Todo and his whole crew looking for a fight. This guy's giving Kisaragi the absolute dirtiest look imaginable, calling him out for having the nerve to even show his face here. Hashigane immediately shuts him down, saying he is the one with the nerve, and they lock into an intense stare-down, sparks literally flying. All Kisaragi wants is for this to not become another massive hassle. Ignoring her completely, Todo challenges him to a fight to expose his lies. Our boy is just confused, but a quick flash reveals Loki's smug grin, while Todo accuses him of clearing a dungeon solo, daring him not to run. Kisaragi starts to stammer out a denial, just trying to lay low, but a familiar voice in his head tells him to accept the challenge. He really does not want to stand out anymore, it is just a pain. But Loki's just chilling, saying this is all for her entertainment. Loki's main reason is simple: he got in her way and it is time to show who is boss. And Kisaragi has to admit settling this now would be way less annoying later. So he stands up and accepts the fight, completely shocking Hashigane. Our boy then goes full savage, offering to take on all three of them at once, which makes a vein in Todo's neck just about pop from pure indignation. Loki, loving every second of this, suggests they add a little wager to the mix. So Kisaragi demands Hashigane's freedom to start her own guild if he wins. He is not about to let this spoiled brat interfere with her dream any longer. Hashigane is completely stunned, blushing at him going to bat for her, while Todo just sputters threats about killing him. Very original, my dude. With the term set, they head to the academy training grounds for the showdown. Kisaragi lays out the simple rules: first to fall or surrender loses, and Todo's crew is practically drooling, thinking this is a guaranteed victory. This two sides face off, with Kisaragi looking way too relaxed for this, before one of the goons immediately launches a massive fireball. Kisaragi just watches it approach, looking bored out of his mind, as the second lackey dives in from above for a coordinated strike. But our boy just backflips away, letting the guy faceplant into the arena floor. This guy gets up screaming at him to quit dodging, which is a bold strategy, while the third member of the team charges up a purple magic attack. Our boy easily dodges the purple magic blast, not even breaking a sweat, while the fireball-flinging goon screams about burning him to a crisp, his fist glowing with some seriously concentrated fire magic, unleashing a massive pillar of flame right where Kisaragi was standing. Hashigane watches in horror, calling out his name, as Todo smugly declares that a failure will always be a failure. But Kisaragi just strolls out of the blaze asking who said he was dead, and a system window confirms it. He just copied both of their skills. Loki is literally yawning, bored by the weak attack, much to Kisaraga's annoyance, telling him not to lose now, which is just fantastic advice, thanks Loki. With a new fire in his eyes, Kisaragi declares he will win and charges in. Right as the second goon throws a punch powered by Herculean strength, Kisaragi just catches the fist with one hand, activating the same skill he just stole, which leaves the entire peanut gallery, Todo included, completely speechless. Then he drives a brutal elbow right into the goon's gut, sending the poor guy flying across the entire arena floor. He smashes hard into the wall, totally out of the fight. And Todo is absolutely losing his mind, screaming in rage. Kisaragi just gives him a death glare, ready to end this nonsense, telling him not to get ahead of himself. It is his turn now. Todo is absolutely losing it, screaming at his remaining goons for being useless. So the fire user unleashes a whole meteor shower down on Kisaragi, who just casually weaves through the attack, batting fireballs away with his sword, leaving the entire crowd completely stunned that the weakling is still standing. Hashigane, on the other hand, is just enjoying the show, knowing this is a cakewalk for him. Kisaragi then taunts Todo directly, asking if he is ready to give up yet, and Todo responds with his one and only line, more creative death threats. Our boy just calmly tells him to watch his language, which is just beautiful. This just makes Todo rage harder, still hung up on Kisaragi beating his first lackey. So Kisaragi tells the last two to stop talking and just come at him. This purple magic user takes the bait, screaming about sending the failure to hell, but Kisaragi closes the distance in a flash, getting right in his face. He places a single hand on the guy's chest and coldly tells him he can go to hell instead. A system window confirms it. He is using the guy's own Thunderbolt skill against him, and with that it is officially a one-on-one fight against Todo. Todo's brain finally catches up, realizing Kisaraga's imitate skill is at play. But he convinces himself it is a low-success, one-time use copy. This delusion gives him a massive confidence boost, thinking Kisaragi is out of tricks, while Loki finds the whole situation absolutely hilarious. Kisaragi is keeping his evolved skill on the down low, meaning he will not be reusing those stolen powers for now, because this is about settling a score from his painful past, and he is planning to sever those ties permanently. Todo, meanwhile, is convinced the last round was just a fluke. So Kisaragi offers him an out, if he is scared. This gets a predictable scoff from the walking ego, who charges in with some very creative threats about tongue removal, his eyes glowing with pure unadulterated rage, and their blades meet with a sharp crack. But it is a feint. Todo's actually using his goon's fire magic, blasting Kisaragi with a massive point-blank fireball. Hashigane watches in absolute terror, screaming his name, while Todo smirks, asking how that little taste of defeat felt. Out of the smoke, Kisaragi just sighs, bored out of his mind, and asks if he could maybe try a new trick for once. Todo is completely stunned, unable to process what he is seeing, as our boy explains that the skill simply did not hit him. This just does not compute for Todo. He insists it was unavoidable, until Kisaragi reveals the truth. That explosion was not Todo's, it was his. Todo's brain finally short-circuits. Kisaragi copied his skill. He is scrambling to figure out when, flashing back to the firestorm attack, absolutely livid that the failure's skill suddenly works perfectly. Back in the present, Kisaragi lands softly, ready for the grand finale, and with an ice-cold stare, he announces it is time to end this little spat. This sends Todo charging forward in a blind, predictable rage, unleashing a whole storm of fire daggers while screaming more empty threats. But Kisaragi's sword just casually bats them all aside. Our boy is practically dancing through the flames, looking completely unimpressed, then leaps into the air, flipping right over a stunned Todo, who can only watch in pure shock as the counterattack descends. Kisaragi just calls him too slow, which is the understatement of the year, before a clean sword strike sends Todo spinning across the floor. Before he can even think, Kisaragi tells him not to move. And suddenly Todo is completely paralyzed, unable to understand what is happening. Kisaragi then powers up, now wreathed in his own stolen fire, which just blows Todo's mind. He copied his skill again. Finally breaking, the bully starts screaming that he will surrender. But Kisaragi just gives him a little finger snap, telling him not to worry, because he will make sure this next attack probably will not kill him. Todo gets a taste of his own fire, screaming his lungs out, as Kisaragi looms over him, coldly declaring the fight is over, you lose. On his knees, Todo just cannot process losing to a failure. The delusion is strong with this one. With a terrifying glare, Kisaragi reminds him about their little promise, and the bully finally breaks, meekly agreeing to the terms. And with that, Todo is officially out for the count, face down in the dirt. A few days later, Hashigane is officially free from her old guild, all thanks to the win. And the two of them finally team up to create their very own guild. Mission accomplished. Hashigane is already raring to go, asking Kisaragi if he is ready for their first job, declaring their first stop is a dungeon, obviously. Kisaragi asks if they are just doing another baby-level dungeon, but nope, she is aiming higher, an intermediate rank Abode of the Dead. Our boy is a little shocked by the difficulty spike, much to her amusement. And soon they arrive at the spooky new dungeon, crawling with undead monsters. Kisaragi immediately goes on high alert, knowing one mistake could be fatal, but Hashigane just teases him for his super serious face. He gets all flustered, insisting he is just being properly cautious, then prepares for battle by summoning his new companion, Lufin. Out pops the giant magic wolf from before, letting out a huge howl, and Kisaragi gives his new battle doge a pat, ready for the fight ahead. Hashigane is immediately smitten, thinking the giant wolf is just too precious. And she is practically vibrating with excitement, asking to give the battle doge a hug, begging with the biggest puppy dog eyes you have ever seen, before immediately burying her face in his fur, declaring it true happiness. Kisaragi just offers a weak apology to his very confused-looking familiar. After the fluff fest, Hashigane gets back on track, asking for more details on Lufin. So he explains that Lufin is a familiar he summoned with a skill. But Hashigane is a little too sharp, immediately asking where he copied it from. Loki internally praises her for noticing the change in his skill, which is not helping, and Kisaragi starts sweating, trying to figure out how to dodge that very pointed question. Luckily, she lets him off the hook, saying it is rude to pry into skills anyway. Instead, she kneels down to pet Lufin, declaring her trust in the new duo. Giving a confident wink as she asks if they have got her back, our boy immediately promises to handle it, full of confidence, though she just smirks, teasing that she probably will not need his protection. Right on cue, a whole army of skeletons erupts from the graves around them, and a system window confirms it. They are level 23 undead soldiers. Hashigane is ready to charge right in, while Kisaragi suggests maybe playing it safe. But she is not worried, showing off a holy-looking sword made just for this. And with a deadly serious look, she promises to show him exactly what she means. Hashigane dives headfirst into the skeleton horde, not a shred of fear in sight, and a single golden slash from her sword carves through a whole line of them, turning the undead soldiers into a literal cloud of bone dust. Kisaragi just watches, realizing her holy sword is basically an anti-undead cheat code. Still, more skeletons keep crawling from the graves and the numbers are getting dicey. Deciding not to be a spectator, he tells Lufin it is time to jump in and help. Our boy immediately introduces a skeleton's face to his boot, which sends the bony dude flying into next week, completely dismantled. He catches up to Hashigane, lightly scolding her for rushing ahead alone. But a defeated skeleton starts putting itself back together, which is a new problem. Kisaragi tries another slice and dice, but it is clearly not sticking. Turns out they all have glowing red cores that just keep regenerating them, and these bony idiots apparently do not know when to stay down. Now they are completely surrounded, with Kisaragi admitting things are looking bad. Hashigane meanwhile just teases him for struggling while she is having a blast. She offers to help him out, asking if he is gonna use his big copy skill. But with a smug little smile, she says no skills are needed for this. Instead, she is gonna show him what her holy sword can really do, channeling a ridiculous amount of power into the glowing blade, and with her eyes shining, she unleashes its holy light. This entire battlefield is engulfed in a holy flashbang of an attack, leaving Kisaragi to just stare at the field of leftover magic stones, while Hashigane casually explains that was just a fraction of her sword's power. She then immediately volunteers for guard duty with Lufin, a very important job obviously, and the battle doge is already completely won over the little traitor. After collecting the loot, they finally reach the boss door as Loki complains about the wait. Hashigane is still brimming with energy, ready to take on the final challenge. So Kisaragi asks for the game plan, the strategy, and she just cryptically says she has got an idea. With a very confident smirk, she promises to take the boss down in one hit, which sounds a little less plausible when they see the boss has a literal army. A system window identifies the big bad as a level 38 undead lord. So Kisaragi asks for that plan again, and she just says she will use a skill to wipe them out. Our boy is not convinced, but she is dead serious, saying a long fight is a terrible idea, because its undead creator skill is a total nightmare to deal with. This skill lets the lord freely create an endless supply of undead minions, so Hashigane needs him to buy her time while she charges up her ultimate move. Kisaragi does not even hesitate, just accepts the mission, declaring that he and Lufin will hold the line no matter what. He gives her a sharp look, telling her she better not mess this up. Hashigane gives him a smirk, promising her part will go off perfectly. So Kisaragi activates Flame Master, diving into the fray with Lufin. Loki explains these summoned minions are just cannon fodder, which is not super helpful. While up on his throne, the undead lord just waits with his 2 elite guards. Kisaragi decides to switch it up, activating his Thundering Blade skill, and a massive lightning storm just fries the entire front line of minions, before he launches himself straight at one of the big boys. His charged blade meets the guard's sword in a shower of sparks. But the undead knight easily parries the attack, not even flinching, and while he is occupied, the other guard blasts him with a dark energy beam. Lufin, being the best boy, leaps in to take the hit for his master, getting absolutely wrecked by the dark magic explosion. After the smoke clears, the guards are still standing, now glowing with power, and the undead lord's eyes just glow, completely unimpressed by the whole show. Suddenly, the guards start regenerating, their dark aura flaring up. And now they look even more menacing than before, which is just great. Loki finds this hilarious, joking that the boss chose quality over quantity, but Kisaragi is not amused, telling her this situation is officially pretty bad. In his head, Loki gets serious, asking him who the real enemy he needs to defeat is, and with a flash of understanding, our boy grips his sword, ready for the real fight. Kisaragi grits his teeth, telling Loki to just watch what he can do. And with a smug little grin, she agrees to watch him entertain her. Our boy gets that dead serious anime protagonist look, it is go time. He knows just spamming skills is useless, so he tries something new, condensing his fire into a tiny supercharged orb, then unleashing it in a concentrated blast straight at the boss. Loki, from her weird spectator dimension, is actually a little impressed by the technique. Even the undead lord seems to be giving him a slow clap for his creativity. And with the boss distracted, he sends Lufin charging at the guards. For once, these big scary skeleton knights actually look terrified, which is the exact opening Kisaragi needed, so he creates a massive ring of fire to trap the entire army. He yells for Hashigane, letting her know the stage is officially set, and she gives him a look that says it is about time, ready to go. Floating in the air, she begins charging up her insane-looking ultimate move, unleashing a skill called Turn a Nog in a blinding flash of light. This attack's power is based on her mental image, a high-risk, high-reward gambit, leaving Kisaragi completely speechless, and even Loki has to agree it is amazing. This entire boss room is just a crater now, mission very much complete. Hashigane just casually hands him the loot while he insists he did nothing, which is pretty accurate honestly. Hashigane is quick to remind him he was just the opening act, which is fair. And as she is ready to leave, Lufin suddenly starts barking his head off, because Loki pops in to announce the party is not actually over yet. Kisaragi is completely lost until a sinister purple energy erupts from the floor, and his face just screams, "You have got to be kidding me." A giant horned skeleton demon casually materializes, completely ruining their victory lap, which a system window identifies as a level 50 archdemon with unknown skills. Fantastic. Even Hashigane is panicking, wondering what an advanced rank boss is doing here, while the new guy prepares to stomp them into paste. She immediately pulls out a glowing cube, yelling for Kisaragi to get to her, and our boy recognizes their only escape route, a teleportation stone. It is an emergency item that zaps you straight back to the dungeon entrance, so with no other choice, they get enveloped in its light, and Hashigane activates their one-way ticket out of this mess. This archdemon, however, just grins as their escape plan completely fizzles out, leaving them stranded and staring down a boss that can apparently cancel teleportation. Kisaraga's first instinct is to blame Loki for this little surprise test, but she insists she is not that asterisk cruel of a mentor, which is debatable. Her eyes glow red as she realizes someone else set this trap on purpose, and Loki just confirms it, they are on their own against this thing. Hashigane asks if our boy is okay after that little teleportation fail, and he tries to play it cool, but she calls him out for spacing out. Internally, Kisaragi admits he is absolutely not composed, he is freaking out. Meanwhile, the archdemon is just flexing its dark, spooky power, so she asks for a game plan, specifically her skill's cooldown timer. It is a 5-minute wait, so Kisaragi tells her to stay out of the fight. She just gives him a hard no, refusing to stand by. Gripping her holy sword, she reminds him she is not helpless. Her blade glows as she declares she is fighting right alongside him. Our boy reluctantly agrees, begging her not to be reckless. This archdemon cracks its knuckles, clearly ready for round one. A massive claw of dark energy comes crashing down, forcing Kisaragi to dodge, and he tries to talk the boss down, a classic "we are weaker than you" plea. This demon is just amused, realizing it is not a fight, it is playtime. Deciding the cornered rat needs to bite back, Kisaragi activates Thundering Blade. He unleashes a massive arc of lightning straight at the boss, while Lufin joins in with a battle howl of his own, but the archdemon just casually backhands the entire attack into nothing. Switching gears, Kisaragi immediately activates Flamemaster instead, then launches a concentrated fire blast right at the demon's head. His fire blast hits dead on, and it does not even leave a scratch. So Hashigane decides it is her turn, leaping in with a holy slash. Her blade actually connects, landing a solid hit right on its chest. For a second, she is convinced her holy sword can actually hurt this thing, but the archdemon just looks down, gathering a storm of dark energy. She tries to play it cool, calling his attack Little Sparks, famous last words. Kisaragi is absolutely freaking out, screaming for her to get away. Too late though, the demon just snatches her right out of the air. With her sword pinned, she is completely trapped in its grip, and then it just smashes her into the floor like a ragdoll. That one hit leaves her completely wrecked and spitting up blood. From across the room, Kisaragi just watches in horror, totally stunned. Somehow she gets back up, claiming she is fine and just needed some space. Her sword begins to glow as she channels a new, powerful skill. Golden energy just erupting around her, ready to be unleashed. With her eyes glowing, she announces that it is go time. This attack is a blinding flurry of holy light, striking the demon from all sides, and in the middle of her assault, she suddenly screams Kisaraga's name, because her whole light show was just a distraction for him to get in close. He calls for Lufin, and the best boy is ready to back him up for the pincer attack. Their pincer attack lands in a massive, fiery explosion, and for a second, Kisaragi actually thinks they nailed it. But the archdemon just strolls out of the smoke, completely unfazed. Loki explains from her spectator seat that their attacks asterisk did land. It is just that the boss instantly regenerated, which is basically cheating. She helpfully lays out their two options, chip it down or one-shot it, while the demon just grins, clearly amused by their predicament. Our boy knows Hashigane's ultimate is their only one-shot option, but it is still on cooldown. In a desperate move, he asks Loki to undo the seal on his heavenly authority skill, and she just gives him a blank stare, having no idea what he is talking about. Turns out her seal wore off a long time ago, someone else is locking his powers. With that little bombshell dropped, Kisaragi turns to Hashigane with a new plan. But the archdemon is done waiting and unleashes a massive energy blast, leaving Hashigane looking up in pure terror. This whole area is engulfed in a storm of crackling dark power, and this skeleton is having the absolute time of its life. Just look at that smile. Suddenly, a blue aura erupts around Kisaragi as heavenly authority activates on its own. his eyes glowing as he announces the real fight is just getting started. A system window confirms it, the sealed skill is finally online. Hashigane just stares in shock, wondering what kind of power he has been hiding this whole time. Kisaragi tells Hashigane to get ready for his signal, and with only 60 seconds on his new power-up, he zips around the battlefield, clashing directly with the archdemon in a desperate power struggle, which he immediately loses, getting blasted across the room. He yells out some classic cornered rat shonen dialogue, feeling very inspired, then immediately activates his Flame Master skill again, summoning a whole barrage of fireballs to throw at the boss. This entire volley goes flying straight for the demon's face, but the big guy just swats them away with his own dark energy. Our boy realizes that even with his super mode, just spamming attacks is useless. Meanwhile, the archdemon charges up a massive, sinister-looking energy ball, unleashing a giant red sphere of pure destruction, and Kisaragi barely manages to dodge the blast, earning a sarcastic compliment from the boss. Loki chimes in with a helpful reminder. He's got 1 minute before his body gives out, no pressure. This demon then uses a skill called wordplay and literally just says do not move, which somehow works, freezing Kisaragi completely in his tracks. With our hero paralyzed, the boss follows up with a thunderbolt for some quality electroshock therapy. But just as he is getting fried, Hashigane swoops in with a fire attack of her own, engulfing the archdemon in a massive pillar of flame. Kisaragi knows this is his chance, readying his sword to press the advantage. Kisaragi charges in, vowing the demon will not escape, but the resulting explosion sends him flying right back, leaving the archdemon on one knee, actually looking stunned for once. Our boy teleports behind it with a classic nothing personal kid taunt, and the demon turns, absolutely furious at being played. From the sidelines, Hashigane and Luffy are the ultimate hype squad. As Kisaragi unleashes a storm of blue energy slashes, knowing he needs one final decisive blow to end this for good. This archdemon, however, just lets out a world-shaking roar, summoning a massive sphere of dark lightning to finish them off. In a desperate gamble, Kisaragi yells for Hashigane to use her skill, but she hesitates, warning him he will be caught in the blast too. He just screams for her to trust him and do it anyway, so she reluctantly agrees, warning him this is gonna hurt. With a cry of Tur na Nog, she summons a galaxy of holy power, which Kisaragi channels directly into his own blade for the ultimate combo. He brings the supercharged sword down in a final attack called Vanargand, engulfing the entire room in a blinding flash of light. Hashigane can only watch, wondering if they finally won, but through the smoke, the archdemon is still standing and absolutely livid. Hashigane is just staring in pure disbelief. Their ultimate combo did nothing. And the archdemon just laughs, using its wordplay skill to forbid any more skills. But Kisaragi flips the script, using the same power to bind the demon in chains, because his heavenly authority just copied her ultimate skill, Tur na Nog. He then starts channeling a galaxy's worth of holy power all on his own, realizing her wide area attack needs to be focused into a single boss-killing beam. So with a shout, our boy unleashes his own version of her ultimate, blasting the archdemon with a concentrated storm of holy light. Hashigane can only watch, realizing he did not just copy her skill, he upgraded it, and the demon gets absolutely vaporized in the holy barrage. After the dust settles, Kisaragi is on his knees next to a massive mana crystal, admitting that was way too close. While Hashigane thanks him for, saving both their lives from an actual archdemon, he just plays it cool, joking that if that last shot missed, they were goners. Which has Hashigane looking at him with a whole new level of admiration, realizing that with him, she can finally have the adventure she has always wanted. Back at the Hunters Association, they turn in the dungeon clear, mission accomplished, and Loki is already celebrating their 1.5 million yen reward. Priorities are in order. Kisaragi checks his stats, having leveled up to 36, but Loki's quick to remind him he is still not god tier. So he decides not to report the archdemon since nobody would believe him anyway. But Hashigane stops him with a serious question. What is his real skill? Kisaragi finally decides the jig is up and he has to come clean, and Hashigane demands to know how a supposed failure got so strong, so he agrees to tell her everything, setting up a private rooftop meeting. Elsewhere, in a goblin's den, some other dude is getting absolutely wrecked, surrounded by explosions and just having a monumentally bad day. And of course he is screaming Kisaraga's name. We have got a rival, folks. Out of nowhere, a mysterious fox-eared woman appears, commenting on his little tantrum, and he immediately threatens to kill her because that is how you greet strangers. She is completely unfazed, calling him a fledgling, which he does not appreciate one bit, leaving him grinding his teeth in pure, unadulterated rage. He unleashes a massive fire attack, vowing to burn her to a crisp, but she just casually blocks it with a glowing purple fan, looking bored, then roasts his lukewarm flames for being too weak to even start a bonfire. Yet she sees potential, asking the classic villain question, do you desire power? He tells her to get on with it, so she offers to grant his every wish, promising him the kind of power that can shake the heavens and the earth. This rival is totally hooked, a bloody grin spreading across his face, as she tells him to just entrust his body to her, which sounds totally safe. Back on the rooftop, Hashigane waits for Kisaragi to finally explain himself, and he arrives, confirming to a worried Loki that he is ready to trust her with the truth. Kisaragi starts his story with the casual bombshell that Todo tried to sacrifice him, which landed him in a mythocrank dungeon where he met a mysterious benefactor. And Hashigane absolutely loses it, grabbing him and yelling about how no one's ever cleared one before. She then demands to know what kind of insane power he received from this whole ordeal. But instead of a long speech, he just whips out his id card, figuring it'll be faster. She stares at the card, completely baffled by what she is seeing. Her first question being why his skill card is so wrong, it is supposed to be imitate. Yet the card clearly says copycat, a change she has never even heard of. Suddenly, a creepy portal opens as a voice claims credit for the power-up, and out pops Loki, introducing herself with maximum smugness. Hashigane immediately goes on the defensive, but Loki just tells her to chill. She is a god, not an enemy. Though the whole I am a god thing does not, in fact, help Hashigane chill, Loki explains that Mythocrank dungeons are literally the domains of gods, duh. Then strikes a dramatic pose, announcing herself as the dungeon's ruler. Trickstar, which earns her a completely deadpan stare from both Kisaragi and Hashigane. Turns out she gave him power because she was bored and wanted a tour of the outside world. And Kisaragi confirms this is the reason his skill evolved, which Hashigane seems to accept. She is not done though, sensing there is a deeper reason for his strength, asking what drives him, what kept him from breaking after being betrayed. With a serious look, he reveals his true motivation, saving his little sister from a curse. Loki drops the bombshell that his sister was cursed by another god, one with a terrible personality, apparently, and Kisaragi vows to keep fighting until he can hunt that god down, which for Hashigane is all the proof she needs to trust him completely. In fact, she is so sold on his cause she offers to help him slay the god herself. Which catches Kisaragi off guard, but she has got her own promises to keep. Revealing she is determined to clear a Mythocrank dungeon to fulfill her grandpa's dream, she gives him a friendly fist bump to seal the deal, proposing they go find and beat that god together as a two-person guild. Our boy is genuinely touched, thanking her with a rare, honest-to-goodness smile, so she tells him to drop the formalities and just call her Rin. It is official. He agrees and they shake on their new partnership, sealing their pact against the sunset like the start of a beautiful, god-slaying friendship. Back at his place, his sister Mayu spots him with Hashigane and immediately gets suspicious, but Hashigane just introduces herself with a friendly smile, explaining they started a guild. Kisaragi notices his sister is just frozen in place, asking if she is feeling okay, while internally she is having a complete meltdown that her brother brought a girl home. Her panic goes from 0 to 100, forcing Kisaragi to clarify she is not his girlfriend. But the excitement is too much and she suddenly starts coughing violently, making Kisaragi rush to her side in a panic. As she coughs up blood, giving Hashigane a horrifying look at what this curse actually does. Mayu tries to laugh it off as just getting too excited, while Kisaragi tells her it is straight to bed now. She is still trying to make dinner, insisting she will be fine in a bit. But Hashigane steps up, telling Kisaragi to handle his sister while she takes over the kitchen. With a confident point, she promises to whip up something amazing to get her back on her feet, then gets comically intense, basically threatening him into accepting her homemade food. His sister just smiles, teasing him for being a total pushover who cannot say no, which has Kisaragi thinking he absolutely has to get stronger and fast. A few days pass and we are back at the academy. In class, Kisaragi notes that Todo, the guy who tried to kill him, is absent again. Hashigane then pops up with a homemade bento ready for their guild lunch date, and of course the entire class is just staring, completely stunned. Our boy is dying of embarrassment, asking if they can maybe tone it down a little, but suddenly a bunch of guys in suits interrupt, asking for Kisaragi Tsukasa. He confirms his identity, wondering what this is all about. And the guy in charge just says he is coming with them. Refusal is not an option. Next thing he knows, he is in some huge formal room being summoned by a mystery man. Kisaragi immediately recognizes the guy. It is Todo's father, the director who approved their guild. This director, Todo Rentaro, gets right to the point. He wants to know about his son. Kisaragi is caught off guard, learning that Todo has been missing for the past 7 days. Realizing that explains the empty desk, Kisaragi asks if he is being accused of something. Todo's dad knows his son was a menace, but Kisaragi is still on the suspect list, though he brings up their duel, saying that should have been the end of it. And since Todo vanished in a dungeon Kisaragi never entered, he is officially cleared. So Kisaragi asks the million question, then why the hell am I here? This director sighs that they did send a search party, but things are complicated. Because Todo waltzed into the Infernal Maw, and look who just walked in, it is Hashigane. Kisaragi is completely thrown to see his new guild partner crashing his interrogation, and she just apologizes for being late, casually dropping that Kisaragi was there. Records be damned. With that little bombshell, the director decides it is time for show and tell, as an assistant pulls up a video log from inside the dungeon yesterday. On-screen is some mysterious white-haired woman with glowing red eyes, who apparently entered the dungeon without a D-card scan, which should be impossible. This director confirms it is not possible, but it happened anyway, and he is not asterisk happy. So Hashigane cuts to the chase, asking what happened to that search team. Oh them, they got completely wiped out. Everyone is stunned, and the director adds that a second team is already searching. Then the suspicion snaps right back to Kisaragi, asking if he noticed anything odd with Todo. Our boy just looks genuinely confused, saying he did not see a thing. But suddenly Loki's voice pops into his head, calling his name, warning him they are in way over their heads as Kisaragi asks if she knows something. Loki reveals she sensed a god's presence in the recording of Todo, and not just any god, it is the exact one who cursed Kisaragi's sister. Kisaragi is completely stunned by the news, which Hashigane immediately picks up on. while the director and his aide just watch, totally confused by his reaction. Inside his head, Loki confirms the presence was faint but unmistakable, and Kisaragi takes a deep breath, his mind now made up. He turns to Todo's father and volunteers to join the search effort himself, which earns him a completely baffled look from the director. This guy immediately shoots him down, saying a novice would just be a liability after the first team got wiped. Our boy does not even blink, his expression set like stone, so Hashigane steps in, declaring she will go with him, problem solved. Even with her bloodchain reputation, the director scoffs at sending two students to their doom, so she brings up that time they ran into an archdemon in a mid-rank dungeon, then casually reveals that Kisaragi was the one who defeated it. Todo's dad absolutely loses it, yelling that an advanced rank boss cannot even spawn there. But an aide confirms the magic stone they brought back was legit, leaving the director speechless that a student could pull off the impossible. After a tense moment, he finally relents, allowing them to join the search, and his assistant immediately protests, asking if he has lost his mind. This director just sighs, admitting they need all the capable hands they can get, even if they are students. Todo's dad completely breaks down, begging them to please save his son. And with a shared look of intense resolve, Kisaragi and Hashigane are all in. Kisaragi tells Rin they are heading to the dungeon right away, taking charge of the mission. But once they are at the gate, she demands a proper explanation for his sudden change of heart. He reveals Loki's intel, the very same god who cursed his sister, might be involved, which has Hashigane completely floored by the sudden personal stakes. Our boy admits he cannot be sure, but if there is even a chance, he has to take it. Staring at the massive gate, grimly noting the second search team is probably already dead. All they can do is hope that is not the case as they prepare to head inside. And nope, he was right, the scene is a total massacre, the entire team wiped out. A lone survivor stands in shock, wondering how a rescue mission turned into this hellscape, just as a mysterious hooded man with a sword appears, clearly the one responsible. This survivor launches a desperate Galeblade attack, throwing everything he has left, but the hooded dude just looks bored, casually raising a hand to counter. He effortlessly blocks the wind slashes with a wall of fire, a complete shutdown, then taunts the guy with a classic, "Is that all you have got?" While summoning dark energy orbs, with a clench of his fist he tells the last man standing to get out of his sight, unleashing a massive fiery explosion that finishes the job for good. A mysterious fox-eared woman then appears, encouraging the hooded killer to let his hatred fester, and she calls him by name, revealing the powered-up villain is none other than Todo. Inside Kisaraga's head, Loki is having a complete meltdown over the heat. Guess a goddess of ice is not a fan of volcanoes. They have officially entered the Infernal Maw, a dungeon that is basically one giant, angry oven. Kisaragi realizes she can feel the heat even in spirit form, which is just objectively hilarious. Hashigane, ever the professional, tells him to stay focused despite his personal mission. He is itching to rush ahead, but she reminds him this place is way more dangerous than their last adventure. One wrong move here, she warns, and they will both end up as well-done steaks. And right on cue, a level 33 lizardman shows up to test that theory. She gives him the green light to go wild, promising she has got his back. With that, Kisaragi decides to skip the warm-up and go full power from the get-go. He immediately clashes with the monster, which lets out a furious screech. This lizardman's attack is blocked, and he calls for Rin to make her move, who is already there, her golden blade poised and ready to strike. She lands a clean, powerful blow, perfectly setting up their combo attack. Kisaragi then activates his Flame Master skill, summoning a storm of fireballs. He unleashes the fiery barrage, completely incinerating their first opponent. After collecting the magic stone, Hashigane admits this place is definitely advanced rank material. Their break is cut short by another lizardman and a red panther joining the party. This team is immediately surrounded, bracing for another tough fight. Kisaragi just glares, his voice echoing with a simple, chilling command, "Do not move," and the monsters actually freeze, completely stunned by his overwhelming presence. While Kisaragi handles his monster, Hashigane intercepts the red panther with a blinding flash, and our boy activates a brand new skill, the Thundering Blade, bringing the crackling lightning sword down hard on the lizardman. Then with a single word, he commands the energy to burst, which completely vaporizes the monster in a storm of blue electricity. With the warm-up over, Kisaragi is all business, ready to press on, and their next stop is the mini-boss room, which is just full of dragons. Okay, they are level 40 lesser wyverns, but a whole swarm is still a massive problem. So Kisaragi decides to call down the thunder, literally raising his blade to the sky, and zaps one of the wyverns right out of the air with a massive lightning bolt. Loki chimes in that they are still wyverns despite the lesser title, which proves true when they just shake off the shock, looking incredibly pissed. This whole swarm dive bombs them at once, forcing the duo on the defensive. And Hashigane notes they are actually using tactics, the nerve on these things. Kisaraga's solution is simple, he just tells them all to fall using that same overwhelming power, yanking the entire flock right out of the sky and onto the ground. Hashigane immediately charges in, ready to clean house now that they are grounded, her blade clashing directly with a wyvern's snarling face. But she gets knocked back, underestimating their strength even on the ground. Suddenly, a giant blue wolf appears with a woof, ready to join the fight. Seeing Hashigane in a bind, Kisaragi grips his sword, ready to jump back in, and he immediately carves through a wyvern with a massive energized slash, which promptly explodes, leaving behind a shiny new magic stone. Before he can even breathe, another one is on him, forcing a desperate block. Hashigane realizes they are just getting swarmed and will not last long at this rate. As Kisaragi struggles to hold back a direct bite from another angry dragon, this kid is now completely surrounded, about to become a very well-chewed snack, and Hashigane can only watch, totally stunned by the overwhelming numbers. With the entire flock diving at him, our boy decides to heat things up literally, unleashing a firestorm, which Loki helpfully points out is a dumb move against fire-resistant monsters. But Kisaragi is one step ahead, layering a thunderbolt right on top of the flames. Hashigane is floored, realizing his copycat skill is letting him stack abilities. Then he unleashes a massive area of effect attack called Turn a Nog, which completely wipes the field, leaving Hashigane to question her entire career path. With the room finally clear, Kisaragi tells her it is time to move on. They press on toward the boss room, still wondering where that search party could be. Inside his head, Loki warns him to be careful, sensing something awful up ahead. And yup, they find the search team, or what is left of them anyway. This little blue wolf nudges a survivor who is somehow still breathing. As they rush to the wounded man's side, Kisaragi senses they are not alone. This lone survivor points a shaky finger, finally identifying his attacker, and he fingers a hooded man in the distance, the one who wiped them all out. Kisaragi's eyes go wide, a horrible realization dawning on him. While that hooded killer just smirks, a familiar but twisted grin on his face. And yup, the big bad is none other than their missing friend, Todo. Kisaragi cannot believe it, questioning if that is really him out there, and Hashigane agrees, noting his entire aura feels dangerously wrong. Our boy tries the diplomatic route, telling Todo everyone's worried, a truly bold strategy. He has got a million questions, but his first priority is getting them all out safely. But Todo's response is just a smug, silent grin, which is never a good sign. Then a massive dragon appears right on cue, letting out a deafening roar, leaving both Kisaragi and Hashigane completely stunned by this new development. As Todo hops on his new pet, Kisaragi yells at him not to leave, but the villain just stands on his dragon, looking like he is about to make a grand exit. Kisaragi realizes the dragon is about to attack them instead, and it dive bombs straight for him, ready to turn him into a pancake. He draws his sword, bracing for a fight he absolutely did not see coming. In a flash, the dragon is down, defeated before it even landed a hit. Kisaragi can only stare, still trying to process what his friend has become, and Hashigane rushes to his side, checking if he is okay after that surprise attack. Kisaragi confirms he is fine, asking about the search team, who are thankfully just unconscious. But Hashigane's mind is on the real problem, still processing that it was actually Todo. Our boy is certain, wondering where he vanished, until Loki chimes in with a location, the boss room. Turns out that was just a phantom, the real Todo's been chilling in the boss room this whole time. This leaves Kisaragi completely lost, admitting he has no clue what is going on anymore. So he relays Loki's intel, asking Hashigane what their next move should be. She is thinking it through. Todo's level is too low to have done all this, so something's very wrong. Kisaragi decides he is going in alone, telling her to head back and call for backup. Of course, Hashigane immediately grabs him, calling the plan way too dangerous. Gritting his teeth, he admits he knows it is a reckless move, but with his sister's cure on the line, he absolutely has to take this chance. A quick flashback to his sister's suffering makes his desperation crystal clear to Hashigane. And seeing his resolve, she changes her tune, declaring she is coming with him. She is not letting him walk into that alone, but then what about the unconscious search party? Our boy says he can handle calling for backup, which seems to solve that little problem. This lone survivor pipes up, telling them to go on ahead and just focus on the enemy. Hashigane then offers the wounded man a glowing blue cube to help him out. And he is surprised, asking if she is sure she wants to part with such a valuable item. She just smiles, telling him it is a spare and to not worry about it. This guy bows, completely in their debt, as our heroes prepare to face the boss. With the rescue team safe, they finally face the boss room's ominous glow. And Kisaragi questions her little white lie about the cube, which she says was for the guy's pride. Now that the side quest is done, they are ready to face the main event. Kisaragi shoves open the ridiculously oversized boss room doors, and their welcome party is a level 45 salamander just chilling in some lava. Our boy immediately calls him out, yelling for Todo to drop the mysterious villain act. He just gives this smug, blood-splattered grin while reaching for his hood, revealing a brand new evil guy makeover, red hair, glowing eyes, the works. Kisaragi is shocked by the change, but Hashigane warns him this is not their old friend. He tightens his grip, confirming he is ready to go all out if he has to. They split the targets. Kisaragi takes the giant lava lizard, leaving her to deal with their traitorous friend. She is on board, vowing to make short work of Todo before joining his fight. Kisaragi gives one last warning, reminding her that this is not the person they know. She just sighs, calling the guy a total troublemaker, a sentiment Kisaragi wholeheartedly shares. With the pleasantries over, the giant lava lizard decides to lunge right at them. With a shout, the team splits, diving into their respective fights. Kisaragi immediately clashes with the boss, his lightning-charged sword meeting its massive jaws. Meanwhile, Hashigane's eyes glow as she tries the diplomatic route one last time, asking if there is any chance he will just come quietly, for old time's sake. His answer is a barrage of fireballs, prompting her to deadpan. I will take that as a no. With diplomacy off the table, Hashigane decides she is done holding back, vowing to beat him senseless first and ask questions later. Todo immediately answers with a volley of fireballs, forcing her on the defensive, but the little blue wolf gets in on the action, lunging right for the traitor's face. and the distraction works, letting Hashigane land a solid slash across his chest. He stumbles back bleeding, but that smug look is not going anywhere, and before she can finish him, Todo unleashes a blast of pure sinister energy. This attack catches her completely off guard, lashing out with incredible speed, and one of those fireballs scores a direct hit, sending her flying, until Kisaragi appears out of nowhere, blocking another attack meant for her. Hashigane is stunned, asking if he somehow already finished off the giant lava lizard. But our boy just sweats, admitting he is not even close to done with his fight. Right on cue, the salamander lets out a roar, confirming it is still very much alive. Inside his head, Loki tells him her bad feeling was spot on. Then comes the bombshell: this monster's power is identical to his sister's curse. This two of them just stare, the gravity of the situation sinking in fast. Loki's voice confirms it again. This is the exact same energy that is killing Mayu. He can barely believe it, asking Loki if she is messing with him, but she is dead serious. Laying out the stakes with zero sugarcoating: go all out or die. With his sister's cure right in front of him, Kisaraga's resolve hardens. He is ready. Hashigane looks to Kisaragi for a plan, suggesting they focus on both targets, but he immediately shoots that down, saying it is too risky to split their firepower. She is completely confused by the sudden change in strategy, until he explains the lizard's dark aura is the same as his sister's curse. This realization hits Hashigane hard. They are fighting the servants of a god. Kisaragi is ready to go all out now, and she is totally on board. With a flash, she powers up, announcing that playtime is officially over, and Hashigane unleashes a massive volley of light from above, her eyes glowing as she pushes her power to its absolute maximum, dropping her own version of Turna Nog, a colossal beam of holy energy. While the boss is pinned, Kisaragi tells his wolf Lufin it is their turn to fight. Todo's response is to just laugh like a complete psycho, and Kisaragi meets his crazed charge with a sharp block of his own. Suddenly, the little wolf gets snagged by dark tendrils, making our boy panic, but Lufin breaks free and lunges, only for Todo to catch the attack with one arm. This traitor does not even flinch, stopping the wolf's assault cold. So Kisaragi screams at him to snap out of it, a last-ditch appeal to his friend. He gets a thunderbolt skill to the face for his troubles. As the lightning engulfs him, Kisaragi screams Hashigane's name in desperation, and her eyes flare, activating her holy sword release to intervene. She tells Kisaragi to leave it to her, vowing to one-shot the boss, but he screams her name as Todo suddenly lunges to intercept her, leaving them both completely shocked by his sudden change of target. This traitor just grins, catching her holy sword with his bare freaking hand, and then he sends her flying with a brutal kick to the gut. Todo activates his Flame Master skill, summoning a swarm of dark projectiles, and Hashigane is forced to desperately weave through the deadly barrage. This relentless assault is too much, and she starts taking heavy damage, while Todo is just cackling, fully embracing his new career as a psycho. He lands a direct hit, a point-blank blast of dark energy, and Kisaragi can only scream her name as the explosion engulfs her. Hashigane collapses to her knees, battered and bleeding from the attack. She apologizes for dropping her guard, which is a massive understatement. Our boy and his wolf immediately rush over to her fallen form, and she confirms she is okay but totally out of the fight now. Kisaragi clenches his fist, telling her to rest. He is handling the rest. He leaves Lufin to guard her, promising this will all be over in 1 minute. With that, our boy unleashes a massive surge of blue lightning energy, his eyes glowing as he gets ready to go Super Saiyan on these clowns. He launches himself at the salamander, knowing this power boost is on a timer. Kisaragi activates his wordplay skill, literally telling the lizard not to move. Then he zips right past a stun Todo, prioritizing the main boss. But the traitor intercepts, unleashing a massive wave of dark energy from above. And Todo follows up with a whole swarm of shadowy blades to pin him down. Kisaragi just answers with his own storm of glowing blue daggers, a classic anime standoff, which collide in a massive, screen-shaking explosion of red and blue. Bursting through the smoke, our boy comes charging, wreathed in lightning, and their swords clash, erupting in a spectacular burst of raw power. They scream each other's names mid-clash, because of course they do. And Todo activates his own thundering blade, screaming for Kisaragi to die. Kisaraga's lightning roars back even stronger, completely overwhelming the attack. Leaving Todo genuinely shocked, he clearly was not expecting that kind of power, so Kisaragi follows up with a lightning-infused fist straight to the gut. With Todo staggered, he knows this is his one big chance to end it. But the psycho has one last trick, a desperate command to sleep. After that, Todo just collapses, completely out of the fight for now. Right on cue, the salamander roars back to life with only 45 seconds on the clock. Lufin powers up too, ready for the final all-out assault. This giant lizard winds up a massive fire punch as Kisaragi flies right at it, and he unleashes a final, desperate volley of energy blasts to finish this. This salamander absolutely shrieks as the energy blasts connect. Kisaragi plants his feet, ready to follow up, and unleashes his own Turna Nog, a storm of celestial judgment. With the boss pinned, he closes in for the final blow, dropping from the sky with a lightning-charged Vanargand, only for his sword to completely shatter on impact. Well, that is a problem. This lizard just roars, barely even scratched by the assault, forcing Kisaragi to charge up one last, desperate energy ball. But right then, his Super Saiyan timer officially runs out. And with his power gone, he gets absolutely swatted across the room. He is weaponless, powerless, and Loki's voice in his head calls him hopeless. But then she appears, offering to help him just this once. her hands glowing as she materializes a brand new weapon, and with a dead serious look she tells him to use it. She calls it her ace in the hole, a literal flaming sword, which Kisaragi now holds, looking a little stunned by the upgrade. He is just staring at the blade, the fiery power reflected in his eyes. Loki just holds it out, a clear take-it, dummy expression on her face. He grips the hilt, thanking her for the timely save, and now armed with a legendary fire sword, he is ready for round 2. This new flaming sword slams into the ground, a monument to overkill. And from the sidelines, Hashigane realizes its power might even surpass her own. While Loki casually introduces it as Levitain, the mythical world-ending blade. She then gives him a simple order: go turn that overgrown lizard into ash. And Kisaraga's eyes just glow. He is 100% on board with this plan. Gripping the legendary weapon, he declares he has got this, then launches himself forward in a spectacular blur of fire and lightning. This salamander roars to meet the challenge, lunging with its jaws wide open. Kisaragi gets a face full of blood spray but does not even blink. As the monster's giant claw comes crashing down to flatten him, he gets his new toy into position, ready to block the massive strike, parrying the blow with an explosion of sparks and molten rock. With a powerful swing, he pushes back against the creature's full weight, sending the giant lizard stumbling backward, clearly not expecting that kind of force. This time his strike connects right in the monster's face, making it shriek in agony, and Kisaragi lands, admitting this blade is seriously something else. Loki just laughs, smugly confirming it is her weapon of choice. Of course it is amazing. But the boss is not done yet, charging up a massive energy ball in its mouth, unleashing a swirling vortex of pure destructive fire right at him. Kisaragi just stares it down, ready to meet that fire with his own. Kisaragi unleashes a massive flaming arc with his new sword, which collides with the fire breath in a blinding flash, and the two attacks merge into a literal fire tornado of destruction, carving a path of molten rock straight through the boss. This explosion is absolutely colossal, engulfing the entire battlefield. While Loki smugly notes he is only using a third of the sword's power, what a show-off. From inside the inferno, the salamander lets out a final, agonized roar, but Kisaragi just tells it to shut up, already diving in for the finisher. He screams for the lizard to just die already, completely fed up with this fight, bringing the flaming sword down in a final vertical cleave, slicing right through the monster's core with overwhelming force, and the impact absolutely shatters the ground beneath it. This salamander is just gone, leaving behind a single glowing crystal, and there it is, the boss drop, a shiny blue mana stone. Hashigane is relieved he actually pulled it off, immediately asking about Todo, who is just knocked out cold on the ground, totally safe for now. Meanwhile, Loki's already critiquing his performance, thinking he is still way too weak to fight a god. But Kisaragi just thanks her for the save, giving credit where it is due, which of course makes her blush and go full tsundere about him needing to train harder. But their victory celebration gets cut short by a sudden, shared look of shock. A mysterious fox-eared woman appears, and Kisaragi immediately asks who she is. But she has only got eyes for Loki, mocking her for siding with a human. And Loki just glares back, calling her a vixen, so yeah, they have got history. From the sidelines, Hashigane is in total disbelief at this sudden arrival, realizing this newcomer is actually a monster disguised as a human. Kisaragi turns to Loki, starting to put some very ugly pieces together, but the fox lady cuts him off, asking who gave a mere human permission to speak. With a flick of her fan, she unleashes a wave of purple energy that sends them reeling. So Loki claps her hands together, clearly done playing around, telling the newcomer to stop being so childish unless she is actually looking for a deathmatch between two gods, because Loki is game. Kisaragi is just staring, completely stunned by Loki's sudden adult form glow-up. This fox lady notes she's grown a bit but claims she is still far from her full power. But Loki just smirks, declaring this form is more than enough to kill her. Her opponent just scoffs, mocking her for trying to fight while protecting two deadweights, which is apparently the last straw because the fox lady unleashes her own terrifying aura, telling the wicked god Loki to prepare to die. The pleasantries are over. At that moment, it all clicks for Kisaragi. This is the one who cursed his sister, and Loki confirms it, naming her as Tamonomi, a mythicrank dungeon lord, who then smugly admits she is the mastermind behind this whole mess. Kisaragi grips the sword, finally realizing she is the one who hurt his sister, and he absolutely loses it. Loki tries to talk him down, saying he has zero chance of winning in his current state, but he completely ignores that very sound advice and charges straight for her. He brings Levitain down with all his rage-fueled might, and Tamonomi just smirks, completely unbothered by the whole display. This flaming sword descends in a massive, fiery slash, which she stops with two fingers, calling him weak. Well, that is embarrassing. A casual flick of her fan sends him stumbling backward, completely outmatched, and she follows up with a palm strike right to his chest. This blow erupts in a blast of dark energy, sending him flying across the room, where he lands in a heap, getting a well-deserved "I told you so" from Loki. Getting back up, he activates Flame Master, summoning a swarm of fireballs. And with a command, he sends the fiery orbs hurtling toward her. She just recognizes the attack as Todo's, looking bored out of her mind, dismissing the whole thing as nothing more than a flashy show. Another casual wave of her fan unleashes arcs of purple energy, effortlessly catching and redirecting his fireballs right back at him. Our boy can only stare as his own attack comes flying back, oops, and he gets absolutely engulfed by his own redirected flames. This whole area erupts as his own attack gets sent right back at him, and Loki explains that her fan reflects skills and ability she clearly hates, while the fox lady just gloats, calling human skills basically useless against her. Kisaragi struggles back to his feet, absolutely fuming, and Tamonomi seems almost impressed he can even stand up almost, praising his spirit from across the room but says guts alone will not save him. Our boy is clearly hurting but still glaring daggers at her. When suddenly she connects the dots, realizing he is related to some adventurer she killed, a revelation that just makes her smile, finding the whole situation interesting. He's got no clue what she is on about, demanding an explanation, but her response is a simple challenge, beat me if you want to know. So he charges again, completely losing his cool and screaming his head off, and in response she unleashes all 9 of her tails in a massive power flex, which immediately lash out like whips, catching him completely off guard. This resulting impact is just a brutal explosion of raw power, and Kisaragi just coughs up blood, the hit clearly doing some real damage. As he struggles on the ground, she calls him softer than cotton candy that is just cold, then announces her plan to curse him just like his sister so they can suffer together. A swirling vortex of pure dark magic gathers in her palm, and she hurls it right at him, with Hashigane desperately reaching out to help, but Hashigane dives in front of him, taking the full force of the curse. She collapses to the ground, completely unresponsive, and a system warning confirms it is a dark arts curse, with Hashigane now on the clock. Tamamo just mocks their little display of friendship, finding it all incredibly dull, but Kisaragi is having none of it, telling her to shut her mouth. This only amuses the fox lady, who taunts him about his friend dying if he does not hurry, when suddenly a new voice cuts in, telling the vixen to be quiet. As glowing red chains erupt from nowhere and bind Tamamo completely, Loki is back in the fight, having just trapped the dungeon lord midair, and she is absolutely done with all this playing around. With a powerful blast, she sends a massive energy beam right at her trapped opponent, then lands gracefully beside Kisaragi and the still unconscious Hashigane. She calls him a reckless fool before telling him to stay back, she has got this. From across the room, Tamamo calls her out for a cowardly surprise attack, but Loki just fires back, calling her a toilet insect for hiding in the shadows. This exchange just sends them both into a fit of maniacal laughter, and with a shared look of pure hatred, they both declare the other one dead. Their first clash is absolutely insane, shattering the entire floor in a massive crater, and the two gods trade blows in a blur of red and purple energy. Tamamo manages to block a direct hit with her fan, bringing them to a standstill for now. Loki's chains wrap around Tamamo, but the fox lady just scoffs at the attempt, yelling at Kisaragi to grab his friends and get the hell out of there, because she is trying to explain to him that he has absolutely zero chance of winning this. And from above, Tamamo smugly agrees the kid is hopelessly outmatched, but then a blast of purple energy erupts from the vixen's fan, sending Loki flying back from the force of the counterattack. She lands gracefully, admitting that was a bit of a clumsy move on her part, while Tamamo just calls her weak, prompting Loki to dare her to come finish it. This fox lady dismisses the challenge as a cheap provocation, putting her fan away, and then just turns to leave, which is not the god battle anyone was expecting. With a final taunting smile, she warns them to be ready to die if they dare follow, which of course makes Kisaragi furious, vowing he will not let her escape. But Loki grabs his arm, once again trying to talk some sense into the angry idiot. Meanwhile, Tamamo dangles the one thing he cannot ignore, a glowing invitation, telling him to come to her Mythocrank dungeon if he wants to cure his sister and friend. This letter drops to the ground as she warns him not to take too long or they will both die. Our boy completely loses it, trying to break free from Loki's grip to chase her down, so Loki just puts a hand on his chest and says sleep, problem solved. As he blacks out, Kisaragi swears he will never, ever forgive Tamonomi. Loki holds his unconscious body, grimly noting that the vixen should have killed them when she had the chance. Loki's eyes glow with pure hatred, vowing to make Tamonomi regret this. On the ground lies the invitation, a ticking clock for his friends' lives, and Kisaragi's last conscious thought was just pure unfiltered rage. Before he wakes up in a sterile hospital bed, completely disoriented, he struggles to remember the dungeon, feeling like a distant nightmare, when Loki greets him from a nearby chair, looking way too casual. Our boy immediately grabs her, demanding to know why she stopped him from getting himself killed. She calmly explains the situation, saying there are 2 things he needs to know, then hits him with the classic good news or bad news first, never a great sign. This bad news is Hashigane, unconscious and clearly suffering from the curse. Loki confirms she took the hit meant for him, a fact that lands like a brick. He flashes back to her sacrifice, the guilt hitting him full force. With his sister's condition also unchanged, Loki admits they are on a very tight schedule. Kisaragi is about to storm out, probably to go die again, but Loki tells him to wait. At the door, she reminds him he still has not heard the good news, which is just enough to get the guy to pause his tantrum. She reveals there actually is a way to defeat the 9-tailed fox, and Kisaragi is instantly desperate for the answer. But of course, there is a catch: he will have to forsake his humanity to do it. Loki stares him down, asking if he is really prepared to go that far. Kisaragi clenches his fist, confirming he will do whatever it takes, and Loki accepts his resolve, a small orb of light in her hand. With a snap, she summons a massive golden gate telling him to follow. But our boy is a little hesitant, asking where exactly they are headed. She reveals their destination is Valhalla, a hall for the gods chosen, and this divine realm, she explains with a smirk, will be his new training ground. Just like that, they are transported to a heavenly sanctuary in the clouds. Stepping through the gate, they arrive in a vast, pristine hall, where Kisaragi immediately collapses, crushed by an overwhelming pressure. Loki, now in a different outfit, just looks down on him, completely unbothered. A giant armored warrior suddenly appears, greeting Master Loki. This is Hildur, a Valkyrie who seems to be her right-hand woman. These two gods exchange some pleasantries, clearly happy to see each other. Hildur's attention then turns to the human on the floor, asking who he is. Loki introduces Kisaragi as her partner, a title he was definitely not expecting. She then orders Hildur to train him until he can fight them both, which sounds awful. This little command leaves both Kisaragi and the Valkyrie completely stunned, but Loki just waves off their shock, calling it an amusing diversion. As Hildur accepts the task, Kisaragi protests that this is not what he signed up for. Loki basically tells him that is a you problem, leaving him to his fate. Loki smirks, telling him to train like his life depends on it because it does. And to Hildur, she explains the stakes. His friends are cursed by Tamonomi. Kisaragi finds his resolve, declaring he is here to get stronger for everyone's sake. So with the reason clear, Loki officially dumps him on the Valkyrie for training. Hildur immediately powers up, her golden aura flaring as she accepts the task. While her status screen pops up level 80 as she politely warns him not to die. Our boy just glares back, ready to throw down against a literal divine warrior, their training ground being Valhalla itself, a floating sanctuary in the heavens. Hildur explains the training is simple, activating her martial mastery skill. His only task is to defeat her, which sounds optimistic. Kisaragi just says got it, summoning his sword for the impossible fight. From her throne, Loki cannot even be bothered to give them a starting signal, complaining about how needy warriors are and telling them to just start themselves. Then she immediately contradicts herself by dramatically yelling begin. Classic Loki. This two clash instantly, Kisaraga's flaming sword against Hildur's massive blade, but he is immediately overpowered, with Hildur calling him way too weak to fight a god. A quick gut punch sends Kisaragi reeling back in pain. And Hildur calls his effort absurd, raising her sword for a finishing blow. That sword comes down in a massive energy wave, completely overwhelming him and sending him flying across the arena already beaten. Hildur looms over him, telling him to get up. The warm-up is officially over, but Kisaragi just gives his little wolf buddy a reassuring pat on the head, asking his spirit animal to lend him some strength for round 2. And the Valkyrie is totally down for a 2v1, telling them to actually try this time. His motivation flashes before his eyes, the two girls he is fighting to save. With renewed purpose, Kisaragi reignites his sword, vowing to win this now, so they charge in together, dodging a blinding flurry of divine sword swings. And Kisaragi somehow manages to block a direct overhead strike. This impact sending shockwaves as he barely holds his ground against her power. Just then, Lufin leaps in from below, going for a surprise attack on the distracted Valkyrie, who actually complements their teamwork before activating her martial mastery skill. Then she just blasts the wolf away with an energy punch, calling their effort pathetic. These two partners quickly regroup, flanking Hildur for a pincer attack, and Kisaragi unleashes his Flame Master skill, erupting the entire floor in fire pillars. Her reaction is a solid HMPH, which is never a good sign. As a massive golden barrier materializes, completely nullifying his ultimate move. But it was all a distraction. Kisaragi appears right behind her for a clean shot, winding up for a flaming punch aimed directly at her blind spot, which she catches without even turning around, an absolute power move. Our boy is just left completely stunned, his best shot stopped cold. Kisaragi swings his flaming sword, clashing hard with the Valkyrie. But he is blown back, frustrated that he cannot even break through her guard. And from her throne, Loki notes that it can at least be called a fight now, deciding that is enough of a warm-up for one day. So she stands and dramatically orders him to sheath his sword, class dismissed. This scene then cuts away in a flash of static to a ridiculously lavish dinner table because priorities. Our boy tries to ask a serious question, but Loki just assumes he wants her meat, when he is actually worried about wasting time with a leisurely meal. But Hildur just shows up with more food, telling him not to be in such a hurry, explaining that proper rest is also part of training, a concept he is not buying, until Loki casually reveals that a year in Valhalla is only a single day on Earth. Kisaragi absolutely loses it, yelling that this was kind of important information, though Hildur just tells him to stop complaining and eat up for tomorrow's beatdown. So defeated, our boy finally agrees to take a break, while Loki just smirks, thinking what a troublesome guy he is. Later on a balcony, she asks Hildur for her honest thoughts on Kisaragi, and Hildur calls him arrogant, prompting Loki to laugh at her harshness, because the Valkyrie has always seen adventurers as selfish fools. But she admits this kid is different, willing to die for someone else's sake. Loki admits he is at least entertaining, which is high praise coming from her. And just like that, a 3-year time skip hits us mid-training arc. Kisaraga's current score is 999 battles and 0 wins, a perfect losing streak. For 3 straight years, he has done nothing but get his butt kicked by the Valkyrie. Every single fight ended with him eating dirt, a total wash. Hildur declares this is the final exam, win on the 1000th try or he is a failure. She even gives him permission to use a special skill, Heavenly Authority. This Valkyrie basically tells him to stop holding back and show her what he has actually learned. Our boy grips his sword, accepting the terms for his final test. With a flash, his new skill activates, surrounding him in a swirling blue aura. His eyes are glowing as he announces the real fight starts now. This two of them erupt into a blinding flurry of sword strikes, but Hildur easily parries, telling him to get serious already. Kisaragi just yells back that he is only getting warmed up. He then activates another skill. Vanargandi, tapping into some new power, a massive shadow beast erupts from his back, looking absolutely terrifying. In response, Hildur prepares her own ultimate move, a pseudo-divine armament. She unleashes a giant golden magic circle right at him, smirking that she saw his big move coming a mile away. His shadow form smashes right into her divine shield in a massive explosion of power. Kisaragi calls out to his wolf, combining their power for one final strike, and Hildur cannot believe her eyes as Lufin dives in from above for a three-pronged assault. This shadow beast's claws slam into her divine blade in a desperate power struggle, with the Valkyrie holding her ground against the overwhelming force, until their combined attacks just detonate in a massive explosion. When the smoke clears, Hildur stands with her armor shattered, admitting he did well. Even praising his conviction, saying a strike like that is enough to face a god. Our boy is just left completely speechless by the sudden approval, and Hildur officially concedes, declaring her loss after 1,000 straight wins. Kisaragi bows respectfully, thanking her for the 3 years of brutal training, right before Loki appears to tease him about being smitten with Hildur at first sight, which he immediately denies, claiming he was just surprised to see her face, a likely story. Hildur just smiles, saying she understands but that her beauty cannot compare to Loki's. While Loki tells her to ditch the armor more often, a suggestion the knight politely refuses. With the final exam passed, Loki claps her hands, announcing it is time to go fox hunting, but not before ordering Hildur to give Kisaragi a little graduation present. So the Valkyrie places a hand on his head, offering him a final gift. His copycat skill activates, successfully snagging her Einherjar ability. A power she explains will allow him to transcend his human limits, but she warns him it puts a heavy strain on his body, so he better use it wisely. Hildur also gives Lufin a special item just in case his master gets into trouble, and the little wolf gives an enthusiastic bark accepting his new duty. While Loki reminds Kisaragi this was the answer to her question about forsaking his humanity, our boy looks over at Loki, then to Hildur, his two divine trainers, and gives them a heartfelt thank you for making him strong enough to fight. For a split second, Loki actually looks a little taken aback by his sincerity. As Hildur tells her she found a good partner, a man to be proud of. With training wrapped, Loki asks if it is time to go confront the fox demon directly, but Kisaragi wants to see his friends first, fearing it might be a final goodbye. He visits Rin's bedside, apologizing for what happened but vowing to fight on for her, swearing he will take down Tamonomi even if it costs him his life. After that, he heads home where Mayu greets him, clearly worried sick, and she immediately notices something's off, asking if he has somehow got older. Kisaragi just smiles awkwardly, asking her to maybe phrase that a little nicer, before getting serious, telling her there is something important she needs to know. She is absolutely floored to hear he is going to a mythic tier dungeon for her and Rin. As Kisaragi explains, it is his fault Rin collapsed and he has been fighting to cure Mayu's illness all along. With grim resolve, he tells her he has no other choice but to go, but instead of arguing, she takes his hands and asks him to make a promise. Mayu makes him promise to come back no matter what happens, and Kisaragi just gives her a calm, reassuring smile, patting her head while vowing to defeat the fox demon for her sake. So through her tears, she agrees to believe in him and wait. With their goodbyes said, he pulls out the wax-sealed invitation to the dungeon, using it to summon a portal as Loki calls him a brat for the house call, but our boy just smirks back, saying he is the challenger here. Mayu gives one last tearful farewell, telling him to take care, and Kisaragi gives a final determined look before turning away for good, stepping into the swirling purple void with a simple "I am off." He emerges on the other side in full combat gear, Loki right beside him. Arriving in a massive hall where the fox demon condescendingly praises him for showing up, Kisaragi is already over the speeches, igniting his sword to get things started, and with his eyes glowing, he declares he is here to kill her, so bring it on. Tamonomi just offers a smug, entirely unimpressed smirk, asking if he is really planning to fight her one-on-one without his wolf, a fact Kisaragi confirms, saying he will cut her down himself. This fox demon just sighs, pulling out a fan like this is all a huge chore. Her eyes glowing red as she calls him reckless, her own dark aura flaring up, before unfurling her 9 tails, telling the mere human to learn his place. She promises to make him suffer until he begs for the end. But Kisaragi just spits her words right back at her, sword blazing, vowing with glowing eyes that he will never grant her forgiveness. This two of them face off, daring each other to make the first move. Kisaragi charges forward, unleashing a furious storm of fiery slashes, swinging his blade in a massive arc right at the fox demon, and he brings it down with all the force he can muster. Tamonomi casually blocks the whole thing with her fan, looking bored. She correctly guesses he has abandoned his humanity for this power, so our boy lands a kick, declaring he will do whatever it takes to win. This fox demon gets sent flying but seems completely unfazed, immediately launching a counter barrage of flaming projectiles, and she lands, calling him insolent for daring to kick a god. With a flick of her fan, she unleashes her own attack, a storm of purple energy blades meant to teach him his place. Kisaragi stands his ground, ready to meet her magic with his own, Their attacks collide in a massive explosion that rocks the entire hall. As the smoke clears, our boy is still on his feet, but he is definitely feeling that. A helpful infodump explains her fan is a divine weapon that nullifies and reflects skills. And Kisaragi realizes her personal power is bad, but that fan is the real problem. Tamonomi taunts him for thinking in the middle of a fight, which is fair, before activating a skill simply called sorcery, very creative, unleashing a 1,000-blade petal dance and telling him to get moving. Kisaragi throws up a wall of his own flames, desperately deflecting the magic blades. And he is completely shocked that his fire is not just burning them away. This guy tries to create a fiery vortex, but she is not impressed in the slightest. Her petal blades just detonate against his shield in a massive light show, leaving Kisaragi looking grim as she calls him naive for even trying. She explains her magic petals are also made of fire, so his flames are useless. And as his fire shield dies, he switches back to his blue heavenly authority aura. With a look of pure determination, he declares it is time for round 2, which just earns him a smug look as she calls him an irritating human. She sends her petal blades flying again, ordering them to cut him to pieces. But this time, Kisaragi charges straight through the storm, carving a path, becoming a blur of blue energy that slices through her magic like it is paper. For the first time, the fox demon looks genuinely surprised, admitting she can barely keep up. And she yells at the mere human to know his place already. Kisaragi just tightens his grip on his sword, done with the lecture, unleashing a whirlwind of slashes that completely overwhelms her attack. Tamonomi is left absolutely speechless, realizing he just cut her sorcery to ribbons. She is still processing how a human just shredded her divine magic, and that disbelief quickly turns into genuine alarm, as Kisaragi unleashes an absolute tempest of slashes, pushing her back. Tamonomi finally admits his power is way too much for a normal human, which means there has to be a catch, like a time limit or some other restriction. Our boy just smirks, confirming she has hit the nail on the head, and declares he is giving up on being human to win this fight. With that, he activates Hilder's gift, his aura absolutely exploding, unleashing Einherjar, a skill that lets him fight like a god at a heavy cost. Kisaragi goes all in, vowing to bet his life to end her right here, leaving the fox demon wondering if Loki is behind this absurd power-up. Speak of the devil, Loki appears, confirming this was all Kisaragi's wish, which sends Tamonomi into a rage about gods helping humans. Loki just shrugs, asking who made up that dumb rule anyway, because she gets to decide who lives and who dies, thank you very much. Her eyes glow red as she threatens to kill any god who gets in her way. But then she clarifies that she is not the one delivering the final blow, instead telling Kisaragi to be the one to show his resolve. He looks down at his hand, a little surprised by the dark power swirling there, while Tamonomi grits her teeth, promising to crush that resolve completely. Tamonomi absolutely loses it, screaming she will tear him to pieces, and she unleashes a massive wave of dark magic right at him. But our boy just holds up a hand, ready to catch it, casually deflecting her divine tantrum with his own power, which of course results in a massive light show. And Kisaragi just blasts right through the smoke to close the distance, slamming his flaming sword down so hard she can barely block it, before following up with a kick straight to the gut, sending her flying as she launches her own volley of fireballs because she is so done with being underestimated, ranting that his divine flame is nothing compared to her power, telling him it is time for another painful lesson. So Kisaragi just answers with a tidal wave of his own fire, gripping his sword with everything he has got, unleashing a massive arc of pure black slashes, and their attacks collide in another room-shaking explosion, leaving Tamonomi staggering back, clearly feeling that one, and now she is actually bruised, telling the cocky human to back off, which he immediately ignores, getting right in her face for a punch, then sending her flying with another brutal kick. She crashes to the floor, completely winded by that last kick, and Tamonomi is absolutely furious, ranting about the insolence of touching a god. With a shriek of pure rage, her aura explodes into a massive column of dark energy, whipping her tails forward to unleash a devastating wave of magic, and Kisaragi meets it head-on, his blue power clashing against her red fury. These two attacks grind against each other in a spectacular, building-shaking stalemate. Clutching her chest, she curses him while trying to heal, still looking pretty beat up. Our boy gives her zero time to recover, already charging up another huge attack. He starts rattling off a laundry list of ridiculously epic skill names one after another, culminating in a move called Eterna, which summons a literal pillar of divine light. This thing is a massive vortex of blue energy, completely dwarfing him in scale. In a sudden vision, Hilder appears, reminding him the fight is not over yet. She smirks, warning him that even a cornered rat will bite back, which of course sends Tamonomi into a sputtering rage. She screams that some lowly being is actually forcing her to get serious. But then a new woman appears beside Kisaragi, much to the fox demon's shock. This newcomer just smirks, saying the wretched fox is finally showing her true colors. A system window announces her celestial beast form is activating to punish his crime. She transforms into a massive nine-tailed white fox, promising a fate worse than death. This new ally confirms this is her true power, telling Kisaragi the final battle starts now. Kisaragi faces the giant fox demon, her tails lashing out like whips. His grip tightens on his flaming sword, ready for the absolute chaos, and he is immediately engulfed in a vortex of her overwhelming power. This celestial beast bites down on his energy blast in a brutal stalemate, but her raw strength is just too much, sending him reeling back. She lands a devastating swipe, calling him way too slow for this league, which sends our boy tumbling across the hall like a ragdoll. On one knee, Kisaragi finally has to admit this is a god's true strength. Tamonomi howls, promising this fight will not be an easy win for him, then unleashes a massive beam of pure destructive energy from her mouth. Our boy throws up a shield, but she just mocks his now useless defense. Her divine laser shreds right through his barrier like it is nothing. So Kisaragi switches gears, winding up for a massive fiery swing. Against her towering silhouette, he prepares for another round, panting hard but with a look that says he is far from finished. This fox demon taunts him, pointing out his divine aura is already fading, but with a smirk, Kisaragi asks if she is blind, a new flame in his hand. He declares the real fight starts now, erupting in a storm of fire, charging headfirst into her barrage of magic projectiles, only to get absolutely clocked by a massive paw right to the face. She bites down on his attack, completely shattering it, taunting Kisaragi's flickering power and promising a very slow end. But then a magic circle flares to life right at his feet, and a tiny blue wolf pup appears, looking ready to throw down. This fox demon just laughs, asking what this little pet thinks it can possibly do, which of course just makes the little guy even angrier. It launches itself into the air, a tiny blue missile of pure rage, and Kisaragi realizes its collar is Hilder's gift, now glowing with power. In a flash of light, the pup transforms into a god-eating silver wolf, becoming a monstrous beast that absolutely dwarfs its previous form. This new wolf immediately lunges at the celestial fox, ready for a real fight, and the two divine beasts just start tearing into each other in a kaiju battle. Kisaragi is left completely speechless at the absolute chaos unfolding, as the blue wolf immediately gains the upper hand, mauling her with dark claws, overwhelming the nine-tailed fox with a vicious flurry of attacks. Now Tamonomi is the one getting pushed back, looking absolutely furious. Screaming that some mere wolf needs to learn its place already, she unleashes a massive storm of pink energy to put it down for good. But the wolf just weaves through the divine laser show like a pro. His new ally calmly explains this is Rufus' true form on his way to becoming Fenrir. Turns out Hilder's collar is a one-time become your future self button, which has Kisaragi absolutely floored by what Hilder did to his dog. And since it is a forced transformation, the clock is already ticking. She tells Kisaragi the final blow is all on him, so do not miss the chance, and he just grips his sword, ready for that one perfect shot. Meanwhile, the kaiju battle rages on, with Rufus' divine aura overwhelming the fox, sending Tamonomi reeling from the sheer pressure. Rufus just weaves around her attack, closing the distance in a flash. This has her absolutely screaming about cheap tricks, unlike turning into a giant fox. These two beasts collide in another massive explosion of divine power, so she unleashes a vortex of inextinguishable divine curse flames, and Rufus is immediately on the back foot, looking pretty beat up, getting absolutely blasted by her overwhelming magic. Kisaragi can only watch, stunned by the sheer scale of her attack, and just like that, Rufus is down for the count, completely battered. With Kisaragi screaming his name, his ally confirms Rufus' body is breaking down. Tamonomi gloats, calling them fools for using borrowed strength, again rich coming from her. That is the last straw for Kisaragi, who just erupts in flames and charges, while his ally tries to warn him off, but it is way too late for that. He slams his attack right into her, earning a final complaint about his persistence. Kisaragi rushes to his wounded wolf's side, asking if he is okay, but Rufus struggles back to his feet, absolutely refusing to stay down. A silent look passes between them, a promise to finish this together. And with a howl, the two agree to fight as one. It is 2-on-1 now, man and beast against a literal god. So Tamonomi immediately unleashes a storm of dark slashes, complaining about them using the same moves as she uses the same moves. She activates her ultimate fox magic, a flurry of deadly petals, so Kisaragi and Rufus decide to just charge straight through it all, howling as they fly into the absolute storm of projectiles, and their combined power creates another massive explosion. This fox demon is actually getting frustrated now, cursing them out, while our boy knows they're outgunned, planning a desperate final gambit. Her lashing tails, however, are making it impossible to get close. That is when Rufus just takes off on his own, a massive blue blur, tanking her attacks as he barrels right through the magic storm, leaping straight for her throat like a missile of pure loyalty, and he bites down hard, finally getting a real scream out of her. Kisaragi gets a little teary-eyed, calling him the best partner ever, because with his opening finally clear, he charges up a divine catastrophe. He unleashes a move called Fangs of Heaven, pushing his power to the absolute maximum output, and this Godspeed pure black slash comes down like a meteor. This impact is absolutely devastating, shaking the entire room, but the backlash sends both him and Rufus flying back. Kisaragi lands hard, with Rufus shrinking back to his normal pup size, though our boy refuses to power down his skills just yet. Meanwhile, Tamonomi is back on her feet, ranting about disrespect again, absolutely livid and screaming that she will never forgive him. This is, of course, the perfect time for Kisaragi to charge in from behind. And she is shocked that he'd use a sneak attack. He reminds her he promised to be the one to cut her down, their powers clashing as she calls him arrogant for, fighting back, so she unleashes her Curse of the Gods, a storm of dark energy. But Kisaragi just holds out a hand, telling her not to move. Suddenly, blue chains wrap around her and he tells her to burn in her own curse. which turns back on her as she screams about his cheap trick. The irony is just lost on this one. Our boy asks how it feels to get a taste of her own medicine, and suddenly she is begging, offering to lift the curse on his sister if he just stops. His response is ice cold. She tormented his only family and he is not about to forget it. He screams that he is done listening to her pathetic deals, and with a bloody grin, Tamonomi decides to try a different approach. Dropping the bombshell that she knows the truth about his parents' deaths, Kisaragi is completely blindsided, asking what she is even talking about, which she finds absolutely hilarious, mocking his total ignorance. He is still trying to wrap his head around this sudden left turn, when she reveals his parents were actually adventurers just like him. This is clearly news to him, as she calls his entire family infuriating. So he demands to know how she knew them, and she just casually admits she killed them. She explains she cursed a loved one and told them to sacrifice their comrades to lift it, adding that she got a front row seat to their suffering and enjoyed every minute of it. But instead of sacrificing anyone, they challenged her to protect their unborn child. And Kisaragi puts it all together. The curse was on his sister Mayu. Tamonomi confirms it, saying his sister was cursed in the womb, but she never expected a second kid. Then she calls them fools for dying when they could have just given up, simple villain math. Kisaragi's world just shatters, realizing his parents knew about the curse all along, and he asks if that is really why she killed them, just for fighting back. Her answer is a casual yes, comparing them to annoying flies she had to swat. That is the final straw. Kisaragi is absolutely seething, screaming her name, and he just erupts in a storm of power, vowing to kill her with his own two hands. Pure rage fuels his attack, slamming right into the fox demon, but she just scoffs that this level of injury is nothing to her. So Kisaragi screams back her strength will not recover as fast as her wounds, and she just launches a volley of golden energy spikes to shut him up. This dead man walking has no right to talk, apparently. As Kisaragi is already feeling the pressure of her overwhelming magic, he pushes through anyway, landing another solid hit, which just makes Tamonomi even more annoyed at his sheer audacity. Time for a new trick. She summons her 5 fox spirits, unleashing her little spirit animal squad to deliver some judgment. Kisaragi immediately has to dodge and weave through the pack, with one of the spirit foxes getting way too close for comfort. So our boy decides to answer with some judgment of his own, unleashing a meteor shower that looks like a giant laser beam. This resulting explosion is absolutely massive, a real showstopper, leaving Kisaragi completely winded from the effort. Except whoops, the 5 fox spirits are totally fine, just angrier. Their glowing eyes promise a whole lot of pain is on the way, and they all slam into him at once, overwhelming his defenses. Now the pack just circles him, ready to tear him apart. Tamonomi gloats about the power of her little fox squad, but Kisaragi just calmly copies her yaojutsu skill, yoink. This has her absolutely losing her mind over a human mimicking a god's power, so our boy unleashes his own blue fox spirits for a little eye for an eye action. With his sword ablaze, Kisaragi declares it is time to end this fight for good, and she is right there with him, totally tired of seeing his face. This two have a final epic stare down, ready for the last clash. Kisaragi just launches himself straight at her, sword held high, calling on every divine power-up in his arsenal. Meanwhile, she is busy monologuing about divine judgment from her heavenly beast form, promising him one thing and one thing only, death. He thinks of Mayu and Rin, vowing this final blow will settle everything, charging his blade with the power of the world tree, then unleashes a storm of pure black divine slashes at max output, which she meets with her own 1000-blade cherry blossom storm. Their ultimate attacks race toward each other, ready to collide, and both of them are screaming, pushing their power to the absolute limit. This result is a cataclysmic explosion of pure energy, leaving Kisaragi's silhouette flickering in the aftermath. Hildur appears, declaring it is over, but he grits his teeth, insisting it is not. Kisaragi's sword is still lit because of course she is still alive. And there she is, looking pretty beat up but definitely not gone. In fact, she is already regenerating, which is just cheating at this point. Hildur tells him not to worry though, the battle's over and the fox will fade. So Kisaragi demands she honor her promise and lift the curses on Mayu and Rin, to which Tamonomi gives a smug little "oh right, that promise," then performs some kind of spell with a flash of purple light. She announces the curses are gone, congratulating him on his victory. Our boy is understandably a little suspicious of this sudden cooperation. Then comes the classic villain parting shot, a vague warning that he will regret killing a god. Kisaragi is completely unfazed, saying he'd do it again to protect the people he cares about. With a final laugh, she fades away, promising to watch his future with great interest, so a new stalker. This second she is gone, Hildur is right there, wrapping him in a hug and calling him her godslayer. He thanks her, calling her Loki, for helping him finally avenge his parents. She tells him he did well and that it is time to rest, and he admits he is absolutely at his limit. Right on cue, the entire room starts to violently fall apart. It finally clicks for him, you cannot trust a fox, even a dying one. Turns out this whole place was her personal goblin den, and with her gone, the lease is up. Loki grabs him, explaining the dungeon is collapsing and they need to get out now. Loki tells him to heal up for their next adventure together, leaving Kisaragi a blushing, exhausted mess in her arms. He agrees, promising to explore the world with her, but Tamonomi's final threat echoes in his mind, followed by his own vow to defy any god for his family. This fox's promise to watch him hangs in the air, and then Kisaragi wakes up in a familiar hospital bed. A cheerful Loki is right there, calling him a sleepyhead. Noting this is just like old times and he seems to remember. Then she is teasing him about how much he's grown up. So our boy just credits his strict divine training, playing it cool. Of course, she immediately takes all the credit because she is just that humble. Just then, Rin and Mayu arrive with flowers, looking relieved. But Loki immediately gives them a hard time for being slow. With a smug grin, she announces that the man you love is awake, and both girls are completely stunned to see him up. Kisaragi just gives a weak wave, sorry for worrying them. That earns him a flying tackle hug from Mayu, who calls him an idiot, sobbing that she thought he was gone for good this time. Gently, he comforts his sister, telling her he is okay now. Mayu's face just lights up, finally free and relieved, and Rin welcomes him back, thanking him for the save. In her eyes, you can see his reflection. He is clearly on her mind, and she gives him a heartfelt thank you, just beaming with gratitude. Back in the room, Rin apologizes for all the trouble, but Kisaragi just waves it off. So Loki pipes up that there is one very important thing to check. Kisaragi immediately turns to his sister, asking if she is feeling any pain. She is practically glowing, saying she has never felt better in her entire life, which has him just so relieved, gently patting her on the head. Even Loki seems genuinely happy that everything worked out for them. As Mayu tearfully thanks her big brother for everything he has done, this whole group just shares a quiet, peaceful moment together, but Rin decides to get down to business, nudging Mayu to spill the beans. So Kisaragi asks what is on her mind, and she looks a little hesitant. Before dropping a bombshell, she wants to be an adventurer. He tries to gently let her down, reminding her she needs skills for that. At which point Loki chimes in, smug as ever, saying that is not an issue. Kisaragi is totally lost, so Loki explains Mayu's long exposure had a side effect, because apparently Tamonomi's skill imprinted on her a parting gift from hell. Rin confirms it has been tested and verified. Mayu officially has a skill now. Kisaragi is having a full-on meltdown over his sister's new career choice. But Loki just tells him to let her do what she wants, promising to help. After a moment, our boy actually cracks a smile, admitting she is right. Meanwhile, Mayu and Loki are already plotting, looking like a tiny conspiracy duo. Then Mayu hits them with the real question, are Rin and her brother dating? Kisaragi immediately starts stammering out a denial, begging Rin for backup, who just gives a sly wink and says they are not a couple yet. This news has Mayu genuinely disappointed, since she wants Rin as a sister-in-law. Loki jumps in, telling Kisaragi to make it happen or she will volunteer for the role instead. He just facepalms, absolutely refusing to let a mischievous god into his family. That family comment gets a huge, flustered reaction from Loki, and the whole room just shares a laugh over the chaotic moment. In her head, though, Loki is loving the drama, telling him to keep entertaining her. Elsewhere, in a very serious-looking conference room, some guild masters are meeting. We get a quick introduction to the leaders of Japan's top 3 guilds. One of them, a guy with intense red eyes, is brooding over some shocking news. A man in a suit is reporting on the complete disappearance of the Goblin's Nest dungeon, which has the entire table murmuring in disbelief. Apparently, in the 50 years since dungeons appeared, one has never just vanished. Someone suggests it is a good thing, but the red-eyed master clearly disagrees. He argues that a dungeon boss instantly reviving is, a little suspicious. But another master just says a win's a win, so who cares about the details? This blue logo guy is not having it, insisting they investigate this historic achievement, which has Director Todo asking the most important question, was anyone inside when it vanished? His assistant reports that nope, the dungeon was completely empty, 0 casualties. Everyone else at the table seems pretty relieved by that lucky break. This red-eyed master complains they have no leads, but a new voice says, oh, I would not be so sure, because apparently 2 specific people have been at the center of recent dungeon anomalies. With all eyes on him, Director Todo looks like he is about to have a very bad day. This whole vibe in the room just shifts to a full-on interrogation. Annoyed, the red-eyed master orders them to put the files on the monitor, and up pops a picture of Rin looking as serious as ever. This report states she and a partner encountered an archdemon in a mid-level dungeon, which has one master praising her for the kill, calling her a prodigy, but a smug voice from the shadows just goes, you are wrong. This assistant nervously clarifies it was actually a guy named Kisaragi who defeated the boss. Director Todo confirms it, looking like he just sold our boy down the river. A shadowy figure with glowing glasses leans in, ominously saying Kisaraga's name. With Kisaraga's face now on the big screen, the guy decides it is time for a little chat. Meanwhile, Kisaragi himself is already on the move, looking ready for whatever comes next. Kisaragi heads down into a dungeon, immediately realizing the public info was a total lie. But he just smirks it off. Details are for people who are not him. He arrives at a massive door right where the top floor boss room was not supposed to be. This kid was expecting a skeletal archdemon, a boss he has already fought before, and with a cocky grin he decides it does not matter what is inside, it is going down. He shoves the doors open, ready for a fight, only to find some guy standing on a massive pile of monster corpses. Kisaragi just casually asks if he is the boss around here, and in response, a pillar of golden light erupts from the pile, which immediately explodes with some serious divine energy. From the blast emerges a completely different, fully armored demon lord, who wants to know who has been rampaging in his castle. Kisaragi thinks back on the gods he has fought, then blames the demon for hiding in the basement, basically telling the guy not to blame him for his own poor life choices. This demon is understandably not a fan of the sass and starts powering up, smashing the ground with a massive shockwave of pure rage. Then lunges forward in a blur of golden light, taunting Kisaragi for not even bothering to draw his sword. It was a feint though, and our boy gets grabbed by the collar before he can react. This demon lifts him clean off his feet, ready to end this little chat. This demon lord just eats him straight into the wall, and Kisaraga's just thinking, great, he is not even trying. A wave of dark green energy starts pouring out of the demon lord, which immediately starts crackling with some serious power. This boss just glares, clearly done with the warm-up, so our boy just activates a skill, looking bored out of his mind. With a click, he finally draws his sword, and their attacks collide in a massive explosion of energy. Kisaragi admits this thing hits harder than the nine-tailed fox god, forcing him to dodge a flurry of devastating strikes. This demon lord is actually bleeding, completely stunned by this human's strength. As Kisaraga's own aura flares up into a terrifying blue skull, which has the demon questioning if he is even human anymore. Our boy answers by landing another solid hit right back, admitting the demon's strong, for a dungeon boss anyway. Then he starts the most epic flex in history, saying, but I have fought gods way stronger than you. With a single slash, he sends the demon lord flying backwards, activating his divine flames skill to end this, and unleashes a vortex of holy fire to finish the job. This demon lord desperately tries to block the holy fire, but he is completely stunned that a human has this much power, as Kisaraga's attack just plows right through his defense, sending the boss flying into the ceiling like a firework. Now on the ground, the demon demands to know who Kisaragi is, and our boy just casually says he is a regular human, you know, just your average, everyday, god-killing human. That is when it clicks for the demon that flame had divine power. Realizing he has been completely outclassed, he just asks for a quick death. But Kisaragi has other plans. He has found a new test subject. With a single command, he tells the demon lord to submit, unleashing his subjugation skill in a flash of purple light. Glowing chains immediately erupt from the ground, binding the demon completely in a magical cage. Kisaragi just stands there, asking how he likes his new situation. And then the chains shatter, releasing a new kind of energy, revealing the demon lord now transformed into a shadowy servant. Kisaragi tests his new pet, asking for its identity, and the genocide king demon pledges to be his sword and shield. And that is the chapter, with our god-slaying copycat looking intense on the cover. After taming a whole demon lord, Kisaragi casually collects his dungeon reward, and his id card officially clocks him in at a cool level 64. He notices the receptionist staring, asking if there is something on his face, which gets a flustered apology out of her, before she leans in with a cryptic warning that something bad might happen. Our boy asks for details, but she just whispers that she cannot explain, leaving him to ponder the super helpful, totally not vague at all advice. A little later, he finally makes it home, only to be greeted by both his sister Mayu and Rin. He confirms the dungeon was a good test run, then immediately asks Rin what she is doing there, who just points out the obvious. They are celebrating Mayu's adventure debut. That is when he spots Loki peeking over the sofa and asks why a god is freeloading in his living room, so she pops up demanding praise for all her hard work training Mayu. Kisaraga's half-hearted thanks does not impress her in the slightest, and Mayu immediately jumps in to defend Loki, telling her brother to be nice. This two then share a wholesome hug, much to Kisaraga's quiet suffering. As Loki proudly claims she basically raised Mayu herself, Mayu completely agrees, praising Loki's teaching while calling her brother a lost cause, which has Kisaragi sighing, realizing this alliance is getting way too strong. Rin just pats his shoulder with fake sympathy, earning a very blunt "shut up" from our boy. Mayu cuts through the family drama by announcing dinner is ready. And Kisaragi just smirks, playing the part of the cool older brother. At the table, he asks how her first dungeon went, and Mayu proudly says she beat the boss. This news completely floors Kisaragi, while Rin just calls it raw talent. Turns out Mayu inherited the nine-tailed fox's power, complete with her own little spirit crew. Loki, mid-chomp, warns Kisaragi not to get left in his sister's dust. And as Mayu feeds the freeloader god, Kisaragi notes all divine dignity has officially left the building. Still, he offers Loki a genuine, heartfelt thanks for her help. Later, while walking with Rin, he apologizes for dragging her into his family chaos, which prompts him to suggest they actually plan their future goals. Rin's ambition is simple enough: conquer a mythical class dungeon. Her plan involves leveling up and, if possible, recruiting more guild members. She points out their three-person team is a bit weak, making Kisaragi realize his sister is already on the roster. But our boy has a solution for their lack of manpower. He reveals his summon underling skill got a serious upgrade, letting him turn any defeated monster into a personal servant like that demon lord from before. With that little cheat code, Kisaragi figures they do not need to recruit anyone after all. He also requests they keep his powers and Loki's whole deal on the down low. So they agree to just selectively build their monster army while clearing dungeons. But just as they are walking, Kisaragi suddenly senses something is off. He gets a surprise call from a guy named Todo Rentaro, who drops the bombshell that the three great guilds are suddenly interested in him. These are the absolute top dogs, each one a monster who can solo hero-level dungeons. Kisaragi wonders why he is on their radar, and Todo brings up a beginner dungeon that just vanished. Our boy plays dumb, definitely not thinking about the dungeon he just completely conquered. Todo also mentions that little incident with the out-of-place archdemon and the wiped-out search party, Now the guild masters suspect he and Rin are connected to all the recent chaos. Kisaragi admits this is troublesome while looking about as concerned as a rock, but his attention is suddenly grabbed by some guy just standing ominously in the street, which has to do on the other end asking what is wrong. Kisaragi just hangs up on him mid-sentence because priorities. He asks the stranger who he is, but this new guy already knows his name. This dude just smirks, clearly enjoying the dramatic tension he is building, and he introduces himself as Utori Kayoshiro, the master of Myriad Thunder. That is right, one of the big three is here in person, looking way too excited about it. Kisaragi asks what he wants, getting a simple, creepy "I am interested in you" in return. Utori steps forward, suggesting they have a little talk, so our boy shields Rin, telling him to maybe dial back the murderous aura first. This guild master just laughs it off, claiming his killing intent is just a bad habit, then immediately lunges forward, screaming that it is an impossible request. Utori throws a punch, looking absolutely unhinged, and his attack blasts down the street like a cannon, forcing Kisaragi to skid back while blocking the hit. Who is clearly not amused by the surprise assault. This guild master just smirks, admitting our boy's got some real power, so Kisaragi, done with the games, demands to know what this guy actually wants. Utori just laughs, calling the question way too polite for the situation. Before spelling it out, he is here to test Kisaragi's strength. Rin tries to be the voice of reason, pointing out that this is super illegal, but Utori reveals guild masters get a special break the rules pass. It is technically for riot control, but he is happy to abuse his authority for a sparring match. With that, he gives Kisaragi permission to go all out, and our boy just sighs, accepting his fate, then immediately powers up with his own lightning and charges right back, which gets a genuinely shocked look out of the guild master. Their fists collide in a massive explosion of blue energy, completely tearing up the street around them. Kisaragi agrees to the test, saying he will play along until Utori's satisfied, promising to give him all the entertainment he can handle, and Utori's psychotic grin shows he is absolutely thrilled with this development. Utori is absolutely loving this, screaming for an all-out fight, and he warns Kisaragi not to be a disappointment, radiating pure battle junkie energy. Our boy just fires back a cold "that is my line," powering up his own blue lightning. And they immediately clash, two streaks of energy colliding midair. Utori throws the first punch, looking way too happy about it, but Kisaragi meets the blow head-on, refusing to give an inch. The sheer force of their fists meeting sends sparks flying everywhere, as they trade lightning-fast blows in the middle of the street. After the exchange, Utori lands with a satisfied "not bad," then announces he is about to get serious, as if he was not before. He vanishes in a flash of yellow, closing the distance instantly, appearing right in Kisaragi's face for another brutal attack. This sudden speed-up catches our boy completely off guard, letting Utori land a direct, thunderous hit, which sends Kisaragi flying backwards across the pavement. He manages to skid to a stop, digging his heels in, admitting to himself that this guild master is the real deal. Utori is just impressed he dodged the full force of that. And with a creepy grin, he says this test has made him a fan, so he makes his pitch, a casual job offer to join his guild. Kisaragi and Rin are both just staring, completely baffled by the offer, while Utori pitches it like a great deal, promising special treatment since he is so bored. But our boy shuts him down cold, saying he has already got plans with Rin. This sends the guild master into a fit of laughter, mocking their two-person dream team. And his laughter immediately turns into a massive blast of lightning, because with a completely unhinged look, he drops the friendly act and threatens to kill him. Kisaragi just powers up his own lightning, daring the barbarian to try it. Their auras collide in a spectacular blue and yellow explosion across the street. Utori then charges up his big move, the Thunder Roar Cannon, unleashing a massive pillar of energy from above. And Kisaragi just looks up, completely unimpressed by the light show. This blast engulfs the area, with Rin screaming his name in panic, but Utori is stunned to see his attack blocked by a strange red power. From the smoke, Kisaragi emerges with a dark aura, asking if this guy has any self-control. This guild master just grins, thrilled that he can finally stop holding back. Our boy sighs about how troublesome this is while casually summoning a freaking flame sword. They square off again, Kisaraga's new fiery blade against Utori's raw lightning, clashing in a brutal close-quarters exchange, sword against fist. Kisaragi then adds ice to the mix, blocking with a crystal shield while attacking with fire. And as they are locked in this elemental stalemate, it looks like they have attracted an audience. Rin is just staring, completely speechless at the escalating disaster, because look who just crashed the party, the other two guild masters. Utori immediately gets territorial, but the new guy just throws the question right back at him. While the new woman Shizuka sizes up Kisaragi and seems pretty impressed, and the guy in the suit just attacks Utori, kicking off a full-blown guild master turf war. Shizuka casually apologizes to Kisaragi for interrupting his date, but our boy clarifies it was just a walk, asking if she plans on stopping the brawl. She just smirks, saying it is better to watch the dog and monkey fight it out. Leaving Kisaragi and Rin to just sweat drop, accepting this is their life now. After trading blows, the two brawlers pause their little slap fight, which is when Shizuka calls them both out for being absolute embarrassments, and they immediately start bickering like children, blaming each other for the whole mess. She just facepalms, completely done with their nonsense, and finally gets to the point. Turning to Kisaragi, she addresses him by his full name, then asks him point-blank what he knows about the dungeon disappearance. She pressures him for any detail at all, no matter how small. But Kisaragi plays dumb, asking why on earth she'd think he knows anything. Utori jumps in, pointing out he and Rin have a weird habit of being at the scene of the crime, a quick flashback reminding everyone he is connected to both major incidents. So the guy in the suit turns the interrogation on Rin, asking what she knows. Rin plays the victim card, claiming she was too busy trying not to die to notice anything. So the guy in the suit turns to Kisaragi, who gives the exact same "I know nothing" answer, which leads to an intense stare-down between him and Utori. Utori breaks the tension by saying he likes Kisaraga's nerve and offers him a guild spot again, and our boy just sighs, reminding the musclehead that he already turned him down. This psycho just gets chummy, suggesting Rin can join too, as if that solves everything. But Shizuka cuts in, making it clear she is not letting him poach her target, because it turns out all three of them are here to recruit Kisaragi. Utori naturally suggests they settle this with a brawl, his one and only solution to everything. But Shizuka proposes a more civilized method for these top-tier leaders: rock, paper, scissors. And they all get dead serious, preparing for the most important children's game of their lives. A few days later, Kisaragi and Rin are standing outside the Azure Storm Guild headquarters. Inside, some new girl with white hair notes that Kisaragi is moving up in the world, while our boy tries to play it cool, acting like getting summoned by a guild master is no big deal. Shizuka herself greets them at the door, flanked by two very serious-looking guards. And she gives them a warm, welcoming smile, extending her hand. So Kisaragi shakes it, playing the part of a polite guest. Her smile, however, looks a little too pleased with itself, as Kisaragi just wishes for a break from all this sudden popularity. Because once they are seated, Shizuka cuts the crap and demands he show her his strength. She gives him a smug smile, saying she wants to see him fight for herself. And Rin finally gets it. The recruitment was just a pretense for this test. So Kisaragi asks if this is her real goal, but she just plays coy, taunting him by asking if he is not curious about his own power level. Meanwhile, the white-haired girl thinks Shizuka really knows how to push his buttons, and Kisaragi just smirks, agreeing to her little game, his eyes glowing as he gladly accepts the request. Rin is completely stunned that he'd agree to this so easily, while our boy casually sips his tea, asking who he is supposed to fight. Which pisses off one of her guards, but she waves him down with a flick of her wrist. Shizuka admits she'd love to fight him, but it'd be a death match, so she offers a substitute, presenting her guard Kangouji as the guild's elite ace. With a sharp glare, she asks if he's got a problem with that, but Kisaragi just calmly puts his cup down, saying he understands. He stands up, ready to go, telling them to just get it started already. In the waiting room, the white-haired girl notes he seems unusually eager for this, and as he stands there geared up, she asks him what has changed. So he explains that to beat a mythical dungeon, he needs to fight more than just monsters. She immediately pivots to what is really important, roasting his ragged uniform, and she facepalms, complaining that a guy who beat a god should not look so shabby. She snaps her fingers, offering a belated reward for that whole fox spirit thing. And a stream of blue energy flows right into Kisaragi, a little thank you gift, which he accepts as some new equipment, promising to put it to good use. Because suddenly he is rocking a brand new, much cooler looking coat, and with a smirk he announces it is time to get this show on the road. They enter the arena, a massive empty room with just him and the guild's ace. And this Kangouji guy is already talking trash, calling the victory his. While up above, Shizuka warns him not to underestimate Kisaragi. Kangouji just scoffs, ready to teach our boy a lesson about how harsh society can be. So Kisaragi agrees not to hold back, which is exactly what the guard wants to hear. With the audience in place, the two fighters square off, and the match begins with Kangouji leaping in for a massive axe swing, an attack that completely shatters the floor where Kisaragi just was. But our boy dodged it without even breaking a sweat, sword still sheathed. This guard gets pissed, demanding to know why he will not draw his weapon. So Kisaragi explains he is just testing his limits without it, adding the ultimate burn, "I cannot exactly kill you, can I?" This of course sends Kangouji into a rage, calling him a cocky brat, and he powers up a skill, vowing to smash his face in, while Kisaragi just calls him out for being a little too violent for a simple test. Kangouji lets out a furious roar, channeling a wave of green energy into his axe, which absolutely obliterates the arena floor in a massive shockwave. But Kisaragi easily sidesteps, thinking that taking that hit would be a bad idea, and with a smug little smirk he concludes his master plan is just to not get hit. This just enrages the guard, who screams not to be underestimated, a classic. So Kisaragi decides to meet the giant axe with his tiny little fist. And his punch, glowing with blue energy, stops the attack dead in its tracks. He just gives him this smug little HMPH, completely unimpressed by the effort. But at this range, Kisaragi seems to realize he might be a little too close, because the guard grins, knowing he cannot possibly miss from point-blank range, unleashing another massive burst of green energy right in his face. Except Kisaragi is already halfway across the room, calling him a predictable musclehead. This guild's ace is just left staring, completely baffled that he dodged that too. So deciding he has had enough fun, Kisaragi says it is time to step it up, his hand glowing with lightning. And suddenly our boy is wreathed in yellow lightning, looking way more serious now. He fires off a massive lightning blast that just sends the ace flying back. Kisaragi compliments his speed for his size, and even the guard has to admit this brat is good. This ace just powers through it, leaping through the residual lightning for another strike. And he is completely enraged, screaming to know if Kisaragi is even taking this seriously. his knuckles turning white as he grips his axe, clearly done playing around. Kongoji unleashes another massive energy wave from his axe, and Kisaragi finally puts a hand on his sword, calling that a bold accusation, then draws his blade, now wreathed in flames, to meet the attack head-on. He gives a smug little smirk, claiming he is taking this very seriously, While Kongoji scoffs that his lightning attacks are useless anyway. Up in the stands, Rin is getting worried, but Shizuka is just enjoying the show. As the guild's ace winds up for another big angry swing, launching a furious green slash right at our boy. But Kisaragi just blocks it with one hand, much to the guard's shock, calling the attack too light with maximum disrespect. A quick shove sends the ace stumbling back, completely off balance, and our boy follows up with a strike that sends him flying across the room. Kongoji manages to land on his feet, digging his axe in to stop his slide, only to see a massive fireball coming right for him, which is just not fair. This poor guy is starting to think Kisaragi is just messing with him at this point, and Kisaraga's dead calm expression is not exactly helping his case. This lightning around him fades, and he decides it is about time to wrap this up. So he just turns his back, prompting the guard to yell that it is not over yet. With a terrifyingly confident smile, Kisaragi says, "Oh, but it is," because Kongoji suddenly realizes he is surrounded by leftover lightning traps. With a smug little snap of his fingers, Kisaragi declares this is the end, and he unleashes his big finisher, Divine Thunder. Which is when the ace finally realizes our boy was charging the entire floor this whole time, as a massive pillar of lightning erupts from the ground, completely engulfing him, and after a healthy dose of electroshock therapy, the guard finally manages to surrender. Kisaragi holds his flaming sword to the guy's face just to be sure, asking so. Then just to rub it in, he asks with a smirk, "I win, right?" A little later, medics are wheeling the guild's ace away on a stretcher, and Rin cannot believe the beatdown she just saw. Shizuka, looking extremely satisfied, thanks him for the impressive show, but our boy just plays it cool, claiming he learned a lot from the fight as well. Her smile gets a little more calculating as she admits this was not on the agenda for today, but now she is formally offering him a spot in the Azure Storm Guild. And Kisaragi just sighs, completely over it, asking if she can please give it a rest. She tells him he just does not understand his own value, claiming almost no one in the country can actually fight him. So Kisaragi points out the ace was not actually trying to kill him and he'd be dead if the guy was serious. But she insists her ace is the real deal and that very few in her own guild can actually defeat him. Getting right in his personal space to tell him that is exactly how much value he holds. After all, he is someone who can fight on a guild master's level and knows the secrets of dungeon anomalies, so it would be crazy asterisk not asterisk to want him as an ally, and she promises to offer him the best conditions. With her most charming smile, she asks him for his answer. Kisaragi just crosses his arms, telling her his answer is a hard no. And the only way he'd join a guild, he clarifies, is if Rin decides to. This new info gets Shizuka's gears turning, her eyes locking onto Rin. Backing him up, Rin says she also wants to be free just like her grandfather. Shizuka seems to accept their resolve at least for a second, but then she gets that look, promising she will not give up and that others agree. This others in question are two very serious-looking dudes, probably rival guild masters. Our boy is visibly not thrilled to hear about more guild politics. She wraps things up by thanking them for the entertainment. Her parting shot a cheerful "see you soon," while Kisaragi's internal monologue is just a flat "I refuse." As Kisaragi and Rin walk off, Shizuka watches, vowing she will make him hers. With glowing eyes and a terrifying smile, she declares that both of them belong to her. Later, Kisaragi admits things just got complicated, with Rin surprised by how hard they are pushing. Just then, his phone starts ringing because of course it does. She asks if he is okay with all this, and he just says he had a bad feeling. A peek at his phone screen makes her stammer in surprise, because it is the glasses-wearing guy from before, one of the other guild masters, apologizing for the sudden call. Taking the call, Rin confirms that yeah, this is a little sudden. Kisaragi just watches, thinking this is officially a mess and he needs a plan fast. Back at his desk, he is already stressing, wondering how he is supposed to silence the three most powerful guilds. Kisaragi realizes he is now on the hook to visit the other two big guilds, so he racks his brain for someone with authority over guild masters, and then it hits him the perfect person for the job. With a grin, he figures the answer was right in front of him the whole time, making a late-night call to set his big plan in motion. Cut to the JDMO building, where some very important people are not happy about being summoned, with the Thunderstrike Guild Master demanding to know what the director is thinking, and the Crimson Blood Master wondering why the big boss is not even here yet. Shizuka, ever the sharp one, points out the obvious. This is all about Kisaragi. This three guild masters stand around awkwardly in a giant meeting room, waiting for the show to start. And in walks the director himself, Todo, with Kisaragi and Rin in tow, apologizing for the delay. This blonde guild master immediately gets snippy, asking what this is all about since they are so busy. But Todo just smiles, saying he is busy too, cleaning up the mess they made. He drops the bomb that he has already heard Kisaraga's side of the story, much to their surprise, and lays down the law, reminding them that even the top guilds have to follow the rules. This other two masters finally get it. This is about Kisaraga's talent and how to handle it, so Shizuka turns to our boy, asking what he wants to do about all this. Kisaragi, cool as ever, suggests they settle it with a match winner gets him, which the blonde guy calls cocky but is totally hooked, asking for the terms. And the director lays it out, a four-way race to clear a dungeon, basically a speedrun for his loyalty. Kisaragi lays out his terms. First guild to beat the boss gets him, but if he wins, they all back off. Shizuka just loves the straightforwardness of it all, finding this whole thing incredibly amusing. This red-haired master agrees, promising to teach this kid a lesson for being so cocky. Todo sets the stage 1 week in a dungeon called Black Ant Hell, and they can bring as many people as they want. This sends the blonde guild master into a rage, slamming his hand on the table. And he is absolutely fuming, vowing to make Kisaragi regret his arrogance. One more rule from the director, though: guild masters are benched for this one. With the challenge set, Kisaragi points right at the three of them, declaring it as a test to see who is stronger, him or their entire guilds. Meanwhile, in some evil lair, a mysterious girl named Loki is accused of betrayal for helping our boy. Loki plays it cool, but the shadowy figure knows she gave power to a human. He brings up the unspoken rule against helping mortals, but she is not interested in his laws. Especially not laws from people who want to wipe out humanity, thank you very much. So the figure declares her an enemy and threatens to start by killing her favorite. She just smirks, completely unbothered, confident that Kisaragi is strong enough. With a final warning, she tells Heimdall not to be the one who ends up dead. Back with the team, two girls ask Kisaragi if they can actually win this thing, with a guild staffer pointing out they are facing 30 top-tier adventurers from the 3 strongest guilds. Rin is understandably stressed, knowing their goal is on the line if they lose. But Kisaragi just tells her it is fine, he has got a plan, it is just going to be a race against time. Rin is looking seriously stressed about this whole plan. So she asks what the strategy is, and Kisaragi's answer is basically go in and get famous. With a smirk, he points out they are already outnumbered, so what is a little more unfairness, right? He gets up from the table, announcing it is time to move, because they have got some forces to gather. A week later, the big competition is on a speedrun through Black Ant Hell. As a precaution, everyone gets a GPS tracker because of course they do. This officials add a rule: if things go sideways, the guild masters get to jump in. Kisaragi stands with his tiny team, looking way too calm next to some new faces, and an official sends the participants off to the dungeon gate. Rin gives him a final pep talk, telling him she believes in him, while our boy just coolly says to leave it all to him. Inside, the dungeon entrance is a spooky cave with a glowing blue portal. Kisaragi's brilliant strategy is to just run straight to the boss room, simple as that. His eyes narrow with focus, ready for the race, but a welcoming committee of guild thugs is already waiting for him. They tell him this area is off limits unless he wants to go through them first. Our boy just sighs, totally unimpressed by their cheap tactics. His goons are stunned when he says this was all part of the plan, as he stands alone, ready to take on the whole crew himself. With a glowing eye, Kisaragi dares them to come at him, activating his follower summon skill, and a massive magic circle erupts at his feet, filling the entire cavern, as a spectral tiger and a freaking dragon emerge from the light, which has the lead guild thug absolutely losing his mind. Yeah, he just summoned a whole party, including a cloaked figure that looks suspiciously like a boss. And the goons are in disbelief since this particular skill was not in the briefing. Kisaragi tells his new friends to handle the trash, but no killing, please. His summons immediately dive-bomb the terrified welcoming committee, while our boy just casually walks off, leaving the screams behind him. This poor saps whine that this is cheating because his monsters are way too strong, with one guy pointing out the big cloaked summon looks like an actual dungeon boss. And Kisaragi is already platforming his way deeper into the dungeon, leaving the mop-up duty entirely to his crew. But his solo run is interrupted by a massive, fiery monster attack, and after dealing with it, he wonders if maybe he provoked them a little asterisk too much. A skeletal summon pops up to check on him, but Kisaragi says it is no problem, as he just blasts his way through another obstacle with his flaming sword, smirking that they have got it all wrong. Beating him is not the victory condition here. This other adventurers are horrified, realizing he just cut through a skill like a guild master could. So he asks the next batch of goons if they are even serious, and they just say it is their job to stall him. Kisaragi just calmly accepts this like he was expecting a welcoming party. Their confidence evaporates when they realize he can summon an actual boss. Trying to hype themselves up, they call it a mid-tier boss that cannot stop them. Kisaragi's flaming sword answers their bravado with a massive slash, and our boy just tells his big spooky friend to take care of this for him. This summon immediately blasts them with purple death energy, really testing that mid-tier theory. Meanwhile, Kisaragi admits he miscalculated how hard the guilds would try to interfere, and now the clock is ticking, making him wonder if he can still pull this off. Just as luck, another group of guild members is blocking the next passage. Suddenly, his other summons step forward, telling him to leave it to them. One of them even barks. His demonic crew tells him to just go, they will hold off the new guys. This new batch of goons is completely baffled, having never seen monsters like these. Before they can even react, a tiny, fast summon zips right past one of them. But as Kisaragi makes a break for it, a shadowy attack tries to stop him cold. Then another summon appears, a seriously intimidating one, promising no one will interfere. With his summons holding the line, Kisaragi finally reaches the boss room door. He is clearly not happy with what he sees on the other side. Turns out one of the guild guys is already in there, staring up in disbelief at the real boss. Yeah, he is staring down the actual boss, a massive red insectoid nightmare, and he is screaming his head off, realizing this thing is way above their pay grade. And just like that, the boss fight gets a whole lot messier. Because back at HQ, alarms are screaming about a massive magic surge in Black Ant Hell. An official is sweating bullets, realizing the readings are off the charts, and everyone understands this is dangerously close to a myth-class threat. Without a word, the blonde guild master bolts for the door because of course he does. He shouts that only they can handle this kind of reaction, so they are going in. Shizuka agrees, pointing out they cannot afford to lose their people in there. This Crimson Blood Master just lets out a long, dramatic sigh. Before smugly saying no one ever said they were not going, his excuse is it is a rescue mission and a chance to conquer a myth-class dungeon. With that, he tells everyone else to stay out of their way. Even Shizuka tells one of her own to stay put, who agrees she'd just be a liability. But then this girl drops a bomb, it'll all be over before they even get there. She's got total faith, saying Kisaragi is already on site and will end it soon. Meanwhile, Kisaragi is dodging a massive energy beam inside the boss room, his eyes widening at what he has found. It is one of the guild guys, totally wrecked and slumped in a crater. This dude can barely speak, asking if it is really Kisaragi. Below them, other guild members are screaming in terror at the new boss. Yeah, this is not the regular ant boss, it is a new, upgraded nightmare. This downed guild guy tries to warn Kisaragi, who just tells him to save his breath. Because Kisaragi is officially done with everyone's nonsense and is taking all his stress out on the boss. He faces down this new monster, basically blaming it for ruining his big competition, and the upgraded boss immediately lunges, ready to tear him apart. But Kisaragi meets the charge with a massive flaming arc from his sword, unleashing a huge wave of fire that sends the monster flying. This thing gets absolutely blasted across the cavern, a pretty solid opening move. Except it just gets back up completely unfazed for a classic stare down. Oh, and its arm is already regenerating from the hit, because of course it has a healing factor just as he expected. In response, the boss unleashes a massive beam of red energy, forcing Kisaragi to leap out of the way just in time. From the air, he launches a flurry of his own fiery slashes, completely overwhelming the monster in a storm of blades. Then he closes the distance and lands a solid punch right to its face, which seems to actually get the monster's attention for once. Suddenly, Kisaragi plunges his sword straight into the ground, leaving the boss totally baffled by what he is doing. It is a trap as pillars of light erupt from the floor, blasting it from below, and Kisaragi just scoffs, asking if a mere mantis really thinks it can get cocky with him. Kisaragi smirks, ready to show this overgrown bug who the real hunter is, and the boss immediately lunges with a furious red slash. But our boy just activates a skill with the most ridiculously epic name ever. Effortlessly dodging the monster's scythe-like arm, he floats above it, calling the attack too slow just to rub it in. With his own flaming sword, he prepares a counter, and absolutely blasts the boss right in the chest with a flash of light. This monster is stunned, realizing this human is on a whole different level. So Kisaragi just drops a single, chilling command, kneel. Yeah, the boss does not take that well, completely shocked by the audacity. Kisaragi clarifies that it is no god, just a servant of one, demanding to know who its master is as magical chains erupt around it. It struggles against the binds, telling him not to get cocky, but Kisaragi just dodges another swipe and lands a fiery blow. This boss screams in rage, managing to land a hit of its own. So Kisaragi puts his sword to its chest with an offer, swear loyalty or die. His eyes narrow as he gives the final command to submit, activating his subjugation skill, which involves glowing heart-shaped chains apparently, and it works. The system announces the boss, Madlantes, has been tamed. This newly recruited monster kneels, apologizing and swearing to be his sword and shield. Kisaragi demands his new pet reveal, who is pulling the strings, and the monster starts to answer, its eyes glowing with green energy, but gets dramatically interrupted by a flash of light. A new challenger appears, shocked Kisaragi actually tamed the boss. This guy floats down, mentioning Loki's interest in the Godslayer title. Kisaragi immediately identifies him as the source of all this chaos, while the newcomer lands, acting all polite for their supposed first meeting. He introduces himself as Heimdall, here to execute the blasphemer who defies the gods. Suddenly, a familiar white-haired girl appears, asking why he is so eager to kill Tsukasa. Kisaragi explains she's just an old acquaintance who he cut ties with. Heimdall is not having it, calling her a traitor with an arrogant mouth, and he smirks, promising she will quiet down once Kisaragi is dead. Without another word, their swords clash in a massive explosion of light, with Heimdall taunting him for being impatient, clearly enjoying himself. Kisaragi just fires the insult right back at him, but our boy is clearly struggling, unable to push through his opponent's blade. Heimdall mocks him, asking if this is all the Godslayer has got. Dark energy begins to swirl around Heimdall's sword hand, and he unleashes a massive, powerful downward slash, which Kisaragi dodges as Heimdall asks if he really thought it would be that easy. Heimdall smugly tells him to be proud he dodged a god's attack, then insults Loki's friends. This white-haired girl clarifies they are not friends with this guy, more like enemies. She then reveals Heimdall is an extremist who wants to destroy all of humanity. Kisaragi, quite reasonably, asks for a little more context on that whole humanity-destroying thing. Heimdall just confirms his job is to eliminate anyone who dares defy the gods, and he says it with the smug satisfaction of a guy who loves his work. Kisaragi is officially done with this conversation, powering up with blue energy. A massive tiger spirit made of pure energy begins to form around him. And he summons not one but two absolutely gigantic demonic familiars. That is the genocide king demon and Diabolantes, the boss he just tamed. He asks his new pet if it can fight, and it is more than ready to go. This older summon even gives the newbie a heads up: do not underestimate a god. Heimdall, however, is completely unimpressed, calling them a rabble. So he summons his own army of shadowy monsters just to be extra. With a single stomp, he sends his forces charging forward. Unleashing a massive wave of ice spikes across the battlefield. One of Kisaraga's other summons gets caught in the blast, completely shocked. Heimdall scoffs, calling them foolish for turning against the gods who blessed them. He then effortlessly blocks attacks from both of Kisaraga's giant summons at once. It is a full-on god versus two demonic titans, and Heimdall looks way too comfortable. Heimdall just casually blocks both demonic titans with a web of energy, looking bored. His summons are already apologizing, realizing the power of a god is no joke. Kisaragi knows it is pointless to resummon them against an enemy this strong, so he just powers up himself, cloaked in that intense blue aura. Heimdall glances over, completely unfazed by the display, and then just opens a dark portal ready to make his exit. Kisaragi smirks, calling him out and asking if he is actually trying to run. Dismissing it as a cheap taunt, Heimdall says the introductions are officially over. He makes a dramatic retreat, promising to return later to bring justice, a classic villain move. Our boy is more than happy to oblige, telling him to bring it on anytime. With the bad guy gone, Kisaragi is left alone in the cavern with his old acquaintance. This two of them just stand there for a moment as the chaotic energy finally fades. Suddenly, the girl spots someone running towards them from a distant doorway. It is the blonde guildmaster, finally arriving and shouting to see if they are okay. He immediately asks what happened to the boss, and Kisaragi just says he defeated it. Right behind him, the other guild leaders show up, also demanding answers. Shizuka stares in disbelief, unable to process that Kisaragi took down a myth-class threat. This blonde guy gets right in his face, threatening to detain him if his story does not check out. Yeah, the other two look just as suspicious, ready for a full debriefing. Kisaragi is in a tough spot, wondering how to explain any of this without mentioning a literal god. This blonde guild leader flares with energy, demanding to know why Kisaragi has gone silent. And Kisaragi just explains an irregular boss showed up, similar to a past incident. This guild master is like, yeah, we know that part, and asks what happened to it. Our boy just repeats that he defeated it, acting like it is no big deal at all. But Shizuka presses him, explaining they detected myth-class magic power down here. This guy with glasses is sweating, completely floored by the idea of him beating that. Kisaragi tries to sell a story about the boss being pre-injured by another guild, and literally everyone's internal monologue is just screaming that is a lie. So the blonde guy asks for the magic stone, but Kisaragi says it vanished with the body, how convenient. He seems to buy it, admitting that is plausible for an irregular boss, while the others note there's no way to verify his story since no one's ever fought a myth class before. After a tense moment, the red-haired guy changes the subject, and Kisaragi smugly reminds them this was a competition, which means he won. Oh, they are not happy about that little technicality. Meanwhile, Heimdall flies through some kind of celestial gateway, reporting back to base, where an unseen voice welcomes him and asks for an update on the Godslayer. Heimdall dismisses Kisaragi as nothing special, not a real threat at the moment. This voice then asks about the other high rankers who were present, and he scoffs at them too, saying Japan's strongest are nothing to worry about. But the voice warns him not to underestimate humans, reminding him what happened to the Nine Tails. This unseen voice gives Heimdall his orders: eliminate any unstable elements, and his to-do list specifically includes dealing with the traitor Loki. Heimdall accepts the command without question, a loyal little soldier. Back with the crew, they are debriefing the whole "a god just attacked us" situation, and Shizuka connects the dots, identifying Heimdall as a known myth-class dungeon boss. This white-haired girl confirms that gods can indeed leave their dungeons, but it is costly. Which makes Kisaragi realize the guy could pop up literally anywhere, a huge problem. But his acquaintance is not sweating it, explaining there is probably a cooldown on that power. And our boy immediately sees the opening, that cooldown is their window to prepare. Shizuka gets it, realizing they have some precious time to get ready for round 2. Kisaragi admits that even with prep time, Heimdall is on a completely different level, telling a shocked Shizuka that the only answer is for them to get way stronger. His acquaintance then drops some more bad news. Heimdall is a perfect warrior with no weaknesses. Looking grim, Shizuka accepts they just have to level up somehow. But internally, she has decided this burden of getting stronger falls on her alone. This white-haired girl, however, seems ready to change the subject with a cheerful clap, leaning in to tell Kisaragi to stay sharp because things are about to get wild. He just smirks back, completely ready for whatever comes next. Suddenly, she declares the serious talk over. It is dinner time as a new girl appears in the doorway. As the two head to the kitchen, Kisaragi notes they are just like sisters. Kisaragi picks up a call, casually asking who is on the line, and a woman with long purple hair introduces herself as Mizukagami, who then smoothly asks if she can make him a little proposal. Next thing you know, he and Shizuka are at a hero-class dungeon, so much for a quiet evening, where Mizukagami thanks them for coming along on such short notice. She claims she just needs to run dungeons to keep from getting rusty, adding that she was lonely, an excuse that is fooling absolutely no one. Shizuka, however, is just excited for a chance to see a guild master in action, and Mizukagami promises to put on a proper show for them. Watching them walk ahead, Shizuka gets a very bad feeling about this whole field trip. As skeletal monsters descend, Mizukagami tells the kids to stay back and watch, her hand igniting with a torrent of blue energy around her blade, and she stands ready, her sword glowing with immense power. Shizuka is completely stunned, realizing she is in the presence of the famous Mizukagami, explaining to Kisaragi that her sword is a hero-class weapon just like her own. Mizukagami's eyes glow as she prepares to unleash a devastating attack, stopping a monster in its tracks with a single command, freeze. This entire creature is instantly encased in a massive ice shard by her sword. Snow White, which she proudly calls her precious partner, watching from somewhere, a white-haired girl with red eyes is seriously impressed by the one-shot takedown. Kisaragi internally notes that as a guild master, Mizukagami is obviously no pushover. And when she asks why he is staring, he just plays it off as admiring her skill. She gives him a smug little smile, clearly enjoying the flattery. As more skeletons pour in, she suggests they fight together from here on out, and Kisaragi is more than happy to agree, gripping his own sword. He then turns to Shizuka, asking if she is ready for this level of action. She confirms she is good to go, so Kisaragi gives the signal to charge. With a shout, they both launch themselves directly at the undead horde. Kisaragi carves through a giant skeleton with a fiery, spinning slash, but another monster brings a massive sword down on a distracted Shizuka. She is completely frozen in shock, unable to dodge the incoming attack. Yeah, she is about to be flattened between two giant bone swords. Kisaragi just activates a skill, literally telling the monsters, do not move, and it works. With his enemies paralyzed, he summons a handful of fireballs to finish them off, unleashing a massive fiery explosion that saves Shizuka just in time. She looks up, gratefully thanking him for the clutch save. He just plays it cool, checking if she is okay while she promises to do better. Our boy even reassures her she is doing great for her first hero-class dungeon. Meanwhile, Mizukagami is effortlessly flash-freezing skeletons like it is nothing. Kisaragi and Shizuka just watch, absolutely stunned by the power of a top-tier hunter. With the dungeon cleared, Mizukagami announces they are at the boss room, and before they charge in, she calls for a quick strategy session. This boss is a spooky-looking musician called the Piper, whose first trick is summoning an infinite army of ghosts with his music. His second trick is teleporting around to ambush you once he has taken damage. Shizuka immediately gets it. The top priority is to shut that flute down. Kisaragi thinks this boss is a pain, but he has got bigger things on his mind, because if he struggles here, he has zero chance against a literal god like Heimdall. Noticing his intensity, Shizuka checks on him, but he just says he is fine. Mizukagami just watches them, probably enjoying the pre-fight tension. She gives them a smug smile, telling them she is counting on them to keep up. Inside the boss room, the ghost rave is already in full swing. Meet the Piper, a level 60 hero-class boss with a flair for the dramatic. Mizukagami calls dibs on the main target, leaving the kids with minion duty. Kisaragi and Shizuka accept their roles without hesitation, ready for a fight. Pleased with their response, she tells them to make it quick. As ice shards rain down from the ceiling, the team braces for the attack. Mizukagami immediately blitzes forward, a blur of motion aimed right at the boss. But the Piper just cranks up the music, sending a wave of ghosts to intercept. Kisaragi gives Shizuka some quick advice, just focus on not getting surrounded. Shizuka flashes a confident smile, promising she will not be a burden, and Kisaragi just gives a quiet got it, totally trusting her. With that, they both charge into the swirling mass of ghosts. Mizukagami is already a blur, zipping past minions straight for the main target, but the Piper just keeps playing his flute, surrounded by a purple aura of minions. She just smirks back, clearly having the time of her life. Meanwhile, Kisaragi is busy turning a bunch of skeletons into a raging bonfire, and even the boss seems a little impressed by how capable they are. Mizukagami leaps into the air, sword glowing and ready for a devastating strike. Unleashing a massive crescent wave of pure ice energy, she yells for them to hit the boss all at once, calling the shot, and Kisaragi tells a surrounded Shizuka to go for it while he covers her. Our boy activates a new skill, crackling with raw blue lightning, and now he is a thunder god facing down the Piper himself. This boss is shocked by his speed, but Kisaragi just calls him too slow. He then unleashes a ridiculous beam of fire and lightning combined, which blasts a hole clean through the musician's chest. But the boss is not dead yet, using his teleport trick to escape the finishing blow. Mizukagami praises Kisaragi for the solid hit as the boss is frozen in a giant ice crystal, but her eyes narrow, she knows he is not getting away that easily. Mizukagami's ice prison swirls around the Piper, trapping him instantly, turning the boss into a giant, glowing ice crystal for his troubles. Trapped inside, he admits the woman is strong, but something else is way more unsettling, and that something is Kisaragi, who he now sees as the real threat to eliminate. Shizuka just stares, completely stunned by the boss-in-a-box trick, but the Piper teleports right behind her, planning to take a hostage, only to find his brilliant ambush is not quite going to plan. Kisaragi intercepts the attack, making the boss shriek in total confusion. Our boy just calls him predictable, his thoughts way too easy to read. He knew the boss would target Shizuka just to throw him off his game, and with a hard nope, he shoves a flaming sword right through the musician. Kisaragi stands there, a whirlwind of fire and lightning, completely in his element. This poor piper gets absolutely impaled by a storm of fiery projectiles, taking a clean shot right through the chest that has gotta hurt. This boss is just completely stunned, unable to process what is happening. He is internally panicking, wondering what kind of monster Kisaragi even is. Kisaragi just holds him by the throat, ready to end this little concert. Mizukagami and Shizuka can only watch as a pillar of energy erupts from him, and he activates a new skill, declaring the fight over with one last, brutal attack, completely erasing the piper from existence. This final attack is a storm of blue energy, completely overwhelming the boss. And in his last moments, the piper realizes he is facing a god slayer. Our boy just smirks, noting his reputation is spreading. Mizukagami is completely blown away, calling him way too strong, while the boss drops a shiny blue crystal, the prize for their efforts, and Kisaragi casually pockets it, announcing the dungeon's cleared. As they head out, Mizukagami calls out to a quiet Shizuka, who is spiraling hard, convinced she is just a burden to Kisaragi. She knows she was out of her league and almost got flattened, vowing to get stronger no matter what it takes. Later, outside the JDMO, Mizukagami thanks them for the field trip, and Kisaragi plays it cool, calling it a valuable experience. Mizukagami then pivots, asking if they have picked a guild name yet, but Kisaragi admits they have been too busy to even think about it. He agrees they need one, saying he will discuss it with someone named Rin, which immediately makes Shizuka's mood absolutely plummet. Kisaragi notices, but she just brushes him off, asking what they were talking about. She insists she is fine, adding they will discuss it with Mayu too, and he is a little surprised but agrees Mayu is an important member. Mizukagami just smiles, excited to see what name they come up with. With a casual wave, Mizukagami takes her leave. So Kisaragi turns to Shizuka, asking if she is ready to head back too, but as she takes a step, the world around her just glitches. Suddenly, she is standing in a strange, dark void, completely bewildered. A voice from a throne observes that she seems troubled, calling her by her real name, Rin. It is a literal goddess who offers to make an exception and provide some divine guidance. Rin is stunned. It is Loki, who casually mentions this is her true form. This goddess just brushes off the whole new look thing, getting straight to business. She knows exactly what is on Rin's mind, how to get stronger. With a sigh, Rin admits a god can see right through her. She is tired of being protected by Tsukasa, sick of feeling like a burden. Her determination actually impresses Loki, who smirks and calls her gutsy. And then comes the offer: Loki will personally train her, leaving Rin speechless. After all, she trained Kisaragi and Mayu, so it is only fair to include her. But she gives a stark warning: this training will be even harder than his was. Without a hint of fear, Rin just accepts the terms, totally resolute. Loki tells her to work on her weaknesses and call when she is ready. And just like that, Rin is back on the rooftop, completely zoned out. A voice snaps her out of it. It is Kisaragi, telling her spacing out is useless. She jumps, startled, insisting she is fine and was just lost in thought for a moment. Rin tries to brush off his concern, telling Kisaragi she is totally fine, and with a sudden fire in her eyes, she says she has her own path now. She promises to catch up to him soon, daring him to be ready for her. Touched by her resolve, Kisaragi just smiles back, accepting her challenge. His own thoughts turn to Heimdall. He needs to get stronger, but first, a quick confirmation. And that means a surprise visit to Loki, who is shocked he is calling her for once. Wasting no time, he asks for some serious answers about their enemy. Loki lays it out plain and simple. Heimdall wants to exterminate all humans. Our boy is, having a little trouble processing that particular detail. She explains that to Heimdall's faction, humanity is just a cancer on the world. Kisaraga's eloquent response is just a stunned what? To ensure the world's survival, she continues, Heimdall believes humanity must be wiped out. She tells him it is okay if he does not get it yet, which is real big of her, but she gives him a stark reminder that countless lives depend on the path he has chosen. Kisaragi just grins, fully embracing the burden of being a god slayer. Elsewhere, Rin is meditating, trying to pinpoint her own weaknesses. Her level, her swordsmanship, her raw power, none of it feels like enough. This biggest issue she realizes is her lack of experience fighting stronger foes. Before training with Loki, she has to fix this, but she is not sure how. And then something catches her attention, a potential answer in the night. And just like that, Rin knows exactly who to call for this power-up, dialing up Mizukagami, who just so happens to be free. Fresh from a shower, Mizukagami admits she was kind of expecting this call, because she recognized that desperate look on Rin's face. A look she remembers well from her own past, feeling weak and left behind. Rin is a little surprised, but Mizukagami just says it is a path everyone walks unless you are a genius. So Rin cuts right to the chase, asking Mizukagami to train her personally. She is dead set on getting strong enough to stand beside Kisaragi as an equal. And while Mizukagami would normally advise against rushing, she agrees on one condition. Rin has to be 100% committed, which she accepts without hesitation. With the deal sealed, she hangs up the phone, vowing to herself that she will catch up to Kisaragi no matter what. Meanwhile, Kisaragi is at the JDMO training grounds with Mayu, looking very confused. Explaining this is prep work so he will not have to rely on his skills, summoning two huge familiars. He knows his summons are useless against gods, and even his trump card is a gamble. So to get stronger, he is gonna need a little help from his monster pals. His summons are more than happy to oblige, bowing in agreement. Kisaragi ignites his sword, telling them to come at him like they are actually trying to kill him, and his two giant monster buddies immediately charge in for the beatdown. Elsewhere, Mizukagami arrives at the Azure Storm Guild grounds, ready to get Rin's training started. Mizukagami lays down the rules for Rin's training, try not to die. And Rin is all in, ready for her hellish boot camp. 10 days later, Kisaragi is carving his way through a heroic-class dungeon. He's just tearing through monsters with his flaming sword, taking heads like it is just another Tuesday. While his summons want to help, but he's got other plans. Kisaragi tells them he has to get stronger on his own to fight gods, so he orders everyone to stay put, his eyes glowing with power, unleashing a massive fiery vortex to clear the room himself. This whole area is just a storm of explosions and shattered crystals, and our boy just calmly decides it is time to move on. He finally reaches the boss room where someone notes a visitor is rare, and it is the dungeon boss, King Enma, looking way too smug for her own good. Kisaragi gives her a look like, "You really need me to spell it out." She gets the hint, grinning as she agrees to start the fight. Her opening move is a casual, wanna kill each other, my kind of boss. Then immediately fires off a blast of energy. But Enma is surprised he blocked it so easily with his sword, leaving Kisaragi to stand there with his flaming blade, getting a compliment on his skills, while he has already figured out her whole deal. Enma throws a fiery punch which Kisaragi easily parries with his own blade, and their battle just lights up the entire boss room in a storm of fire. She winds up for another punch, putting some serious power behind it this time. But our boy just sidesteps and takes her entire arm off, much to her shock. Enma's not even phased, just snarling that she warned him this would happen. While Kisaragi calmly confirms he's got her figured out now. Her arm pops right back on as she throws a kick, but she is just hitting empty air, because Kisaraga's already reappeared, giving her a little credit for the dodge. She is absolutely floored, realizing he read her like a book after just one exchange. Our boy breaks down her teleport skill, calling it predictable if you just pay attention. Then it finally clicks for her, his power is not normal at all. She realizes he is the God Slayer and he is just annoyed his secret is out. That just makes her even more excited, promising to go all out from now on. She even grabs his flaming sword with her bare hand, baffled by the fire. And he casually explains her instant healing was annoying, so he just turned it off. Enma is in total denial, so he just dares her to go ahead and try healing. Of course, he does not actually give her time, immediately kicking her while she is stunned, then runs her through, reminding her he said he understood her from the start. Turns out he used his mimicry skill right at the beginning of the fight, copying her teleport ability and leaving her completely outplayed. Enma's last thought is just calling him a monster, which is a little rich coming from her. But Kisaragi just fires back that she is the real monster in this situation, and with a final fiery slash he completely obliterates her, leaving behind nothing but her glowing blue dungeon core. His familiar pops up, impressed he won without god skills but questioning why he did not make her a servant. And Kisaragi just says he only wanted her teleport skill, plus she was weaker than his current summons, adding with a smirk that he has already picked out his next big recruit. Cut to the JDMO headquarters where our boy is back from his training session. This receptionist notices he looks a little worn out and asks if he is okay, pointing out that he has been solo grinding high-level dungeons every single day and needs to rest. He just gives her a tired smile, insisting he is fine and wants to dive into another one right now, completely ignoring her concern as he asks her to process the paperwork. She is not amused. With a sudden intensity, he just tells her he needs to get stronger, and that look is enough to make her cave, asking which dungeon he is hitting next. Kisaragi names his next target the heroic-class dungeon, Knights of the Round Table, and just like that, he is stepping through a portal into a massive, ornate hall, but something immediately seems a little too convenient. This boss room is literally right at the entrance, making him think he just hit the jackpot. His summon warns him not to get cocky, asking why he chose this specific dungeon. And Kisaragi explains it is because the first guild to ever clear it was the one that came closest to killing a god. Kisaragi smirks, calling this the perfect warm-up for fighting a god, and then he steps through some ridiculously huge doors. Meanwhile, Rin's training is going great if you count being exhausted on the floor, while Mizukagami asks if she is already out of resolve. But Rin grabs her weapon, insisting it is not that simple. And with a burst of energy, she gets back on her feet, ready for more. That is exactly what Mizukagami wanted to hear, giving a satisfied smirk. So she announces the brutal training is back on. This two immediately clash in a flurry of intense strikes, until Mizukagami stops her cold, pointing out a fundamental flaw. She starts listing everything Rin lacks: the thirst for victory, the will to survive, and the relentless desire for strength, a real laundry list of failures. But her biggest problem as Rin hits the deck again is her lack of a sense of danger. Mizukagami casually tosses Rin's weapon back, announcing break time is over. And as Rin questions this, her mentor says she is proving her point right now. She asks if Rin truly believes she is about to be killed, because Mizukagami is coming at her with the genuine intent to kill. That killer instinct, she explains, is the very core of her power. Switching back to Kisaragi, he has finally reached the throne room where someone was expecting him, and sitting on that throne is the dungeon boss, Star Lion King Arthur, who knows our boy's name. Our boy wants to know how the boss knows his name, and Arthur's response is basically, "I am the boss, idiot." His familiars are freaking out, saying it is too dangerous, but Kisaragi just tells them to shut it. Arthur gives a slow clap for his loyal summons, telling him to bring them out. It will not make a difference. It clicks for Kisaragi that this guy can hear his internal monologue, a true top-tier boss move. This Lion King steps up, boasting that he is stronger than anyone Kisaragi has ever beaten. Then he lunges forward with a clawed gauntlet, summoning a ridiculously huge golden greatsword. He slams the sword down, formally addressing Kisaragi as the Godslayer. With his weapon ready, he challenges Kisaragi to come at him with everything he has got. Our boy answers by igniting his own sword, accepting the challenge. A tense stare-down follows, both fighters sizing each other up, and they immediately clash, swords grinding against each other, their initial exchange sending a shockwave of fiery energy across the entire throne room. Both fighters are immediately impressed, realizing the other is insanely fast. Arthur is floored, realizing Kisaragi is reading his moves, and our boy basically says, "Took you long enough." Since his basic attacks will not work, Arthur just summons a storm of glowing blue swords from the ceiling. This whole arsenal of blades comes hurtling down toward him, but our boy just bats them away with his flaming sword like they are nothing. This Lion King warns him that holding back is a death sentence, unleashing the judgment of the stars. As the starry attack fills the sky, Kisaragi is shocked. It looks exactly like Rin's power. Kisaragi zips through a storm of golden energy beams, while Arthur dares him to just eat his ultimate magic head-on. This entire chamber erupts in a massive explosion centered right on our boy, and this lion maniac is just laughing, thinking he has already won. But a new, wild power flares up, Kisaragi glad that Arthur is finally getting serious. His eyes glowing a menacing blue as he says this is exactly what he hoped for. Then he dives right back into the fight, promising the real show is starting now. Their swords clash in a blinding explosion of fire and light, with Arthur calmly stating he can see right through Kisaragi's every move, as he effortlessly dodges another fiery slash from above, sending Kisaragi reeling, wondering if this guy is really just a hero-class boss. Arthur mocks him for freezing up, surrounded by a fresh set of floating blue blades, which create illusions that our boy easily dodges, calling them way too slow. So the Lion King just orders his magic sword to shatter, unleashing a blinding wave of blue energy to finish him off. He then reveals his trump card, Star Reading, a skill that lets him see the future. This guy even turns his back for a classic villain monologue about Kisaraga's pipe dreams. But a dark, crackling power suddenly shatters the blue light from within, catching Arthur completely off guard as his whole attack just falls apart. Kisaragi stands there, having figured it all out, that Star Reading is how he has been predicting everything. Arthur basically dares him to run now that he knows his trick. This Lion King keeps goading him, asking if he has just given up, but our boy just smirks back, saying not a chance, and declares he has absolutely no intention of dying here. Not until he has taken out every last god threatening the world. He even tells Arthur that Future Sight will not save him from this next move, then just blitzes forward in a storm of blue energy. Arthur seems amused by the head-on charge, what a fool, and they lock eyes for one final intense showdown before clashing in a massive aerial strike. Kisaragi takes a hit right across the chest, but Arthur is the one who is completely stunned. Our boy just broke the future. This helmet shatters, revealing the Lion King is actually a woman, and she is very impressed. Now on one knee, she admits this is a Godslayer's true power, saying it is more than she hoped for and agrees to join his ranks. Kisaragi calls her out, asking if this whole fight was just a test, and she basically admits she was just confirming her own prophecy. She holds out her hand, asking him to make her his subordinate, so they shake on it, our boy calling her a troublesome king. With that, the subordination skill activates in a huge flash of purple chains. Arthur is now officially his subordinate, admitting the new power feels pretty good. And Kisaragi starts to call her by her old title but stops himself thinking, so she just tells him to call her Arthur, dropping the whole king thing. With a smirk, she calls him master. The contract is complete. Back at home, Kisaragi is completely wiped out when his sister Mayu checks on him. And she immediately calls him out, saying his non-stop dungeon grinding is insane. But our boy insists he needs even more power to take on the gods. So Mayu's worry grows, asking about Rin, who still has not returned. He just pats her head, trying to play it cool and asking if he looks worried. Promising to protect everyone, a classic hero line from a guy who can barely sit up. She begs him not to push himself so hard or leave her again. And in a tender moment, he promises to stay by her side, asking for her trust. Just then, his phone rings and he answers with zero patience for whoever is calling, as an angry voice on the other end immediately demands to know what he has done now. It is the JDMO ordering him to HQ because another dungeon anomaly has popped up. Gee, I wonder why. Arriving at the meeting, Kisaragi is told he is late and immediately notices someone's missing. While one of the agents points out that Rin is not with him this time, he brushes it off, explaining they are working separately and demands to know what is going on. This blonde agent reveals that multiple dungeons are showing abnormal magic, just like the Black Ant Hell incident, and a report confirms 4 dungeons are affected, with a 5th one still under investigation. Kisaragi connects the dots, wondering if this is all a deliberate trap to lure him out. While the blonde agent suggests they split up to tackle the dungeons before it is too late, and our boy is a little lost, asking what too late even means. So their director clarifies with the worst possible news, a full-on dungeon break. This whole room immediately panics at the thought of monsters overrunning the city, but the director tries to downplay it, insisting a break is basically impossible. Which the blonde agent immediately shuts down, pointing out impossible has been happening a lot lately. Even Tsunashima agrees they need to act now, putting more pressure on the director, and she formally backs the plan to head to the dungeons immediately. Looking at a gate made of skulls, the director knows that if they wait, people will die. So he caves under the pressure, reluctantly giving the okay. then officially orders the other major guilds to get moving and clear the problem dungeons. This blonde agent is all smiles, basically saying took you long enough and gets ready to mobilize. But of course they are not letting Kisaragi sit this one out and he is happy to join the party. Tsuneshima asks if he is going solo but he just smirks, saying he has got reliable allies. In his head though he is calling out to Rin, telling her to hurry back already. And elsewhere a new villainess named Loki announces their final phase is beginning. Speak of the devil, we cut to Rin looking stone cold serious in some icy wasteland, where Loki gives her a final test, land one good hit to pass, and Rin's sword flares to life, ready to give it everything she has got, no words needed. Loki is all smiles, loving Rin's new fighting spirit and announcing she is coming. Then she just summons a storm of glowing red swords, as a friendly test. This whole arsenal comes raining down on Rin, who calmly identifies the attack. And our girl answers by powering up her own golden blade, ready for a showdown. She swings in a massive arc, meeting the barrage head-on, and the resulting explosion just shatters Loki's entire volley into nothing. Loki takes a tiny scratch to the face but is super impressed, telling Rin she passes. So after a quick thank you, Loki cuts to the chase. Is she going back to Kisaragi? Rin gives a stone-cold yes, vowing to protect him no matter what. With a smug look, Loki asks for one little favor before she goes. Rin is ready for anything, but Loki plays it off like it is no big deal. Cut to Kisaragi waiting at a gate and boom, Rin is finally here. She apologizes for being late, looking like a total pro now, and our boy just smirks back, happy to see she is ready for action. They stand together, a united front once again, ready to dive in. Inside, Rin gets a little nostalgic. It is the first dungeon they ever cleared together. Except this beginner dungeon now looks like a horror movie set, and a tiny version of Loki appears, blaming some guy named Heimdall for all this. But then Loki's tone shifts, saying there is something more important, and she apologizes to a shocked Rin for making a terrible mistake. Loki snaps her fingers, saying she forgot to prep a little something for Rin, and with a flash, Rin gets a full-on golden armor upgrade, a gift, apparently. Loki's just admiring her own work because of course she is. Then she tells Rin to go show off her new power, leaving Kisaragi totally lost. Our boy recaps the mission. 4 dungeons are bugging out and the other big shots are on it, so their job is to clear all 4 simultaneously using a special device from HQ. He hands her a new comms unit for talking between dungeons, planning to link up at the boss rooms. But Rin questions the whole splitting up strategy, which Kisaragi admits is risky. This real reason drops, a god named Heimdall is hiding in one of them. Kisaragi is practically hoping to hit the jackpot and find the god himself right before they spot some monsters, and what a welcoming party, a whole pack of snarling, roided-out werewolves. He just narrows his eyes, ready to clear out the trash first, but Rin steps up, telling him to save his strength and let her handle this. He smirks and agrees, while she jokes he might not even get a turn. Then she just blitzes forward, all business and ready for a fight. She immediately parries a massive claw from some kind of cyclops wolf thing, and the force of the blow sends her sliding back, but she is holding the line. Then she winds up for a counter, channeling some serious power, unleashing a brutal slash that just tears right through the monster's chest. She lands perfectly as the beast falls, not even breaking a sweat. Rin's blade flashes in a golden arc, slicing clean through another werewolf. But a second beast is already lunging at her from behind, and she just spins into another massive slash, cutting it down without a second thought. Kisaragi is watching all this, asking Loki what the hell she did to make Rin so different, and Loki just calls it a little death match, for team-building purposes. She even reminds him that drastic measures are needed for a power-up, which he cannot really deny. Apparently Rin always had this potential, Loki just helped awaken it. This magic stones they are dropping are also insanely pure, which Rin suspects is Heimdall's influence, and Loki confirms it, warning them the monsters are powered by a god's aura. Her tone shifts, revealing Heimdall is serious about killing them and the other 3 guild masters. Kisaragi is pretty sure the other pros can handle themselves but agrees they cannot be careless. Suddenly his comms crackle to life with someone yelling at him for taking too long, so he asks for a status update and the reply is basically it is the worst. We see the blonde agent from HQ admitting he has never seen anything like this before, now standing before a boss door in the Devil's Mansion, sensing insane power. In another dungeon, the blue-haired agent is just relieved they sealed the gates early. While the agent with glasses agrees any delay would have been a complete catastrophe. Back on the comms, they are begging Kisaragi to hurry, so he promises to be there in 3 minutes. He gives Rin the signal to move out and she tells him they will be waiting. Elsewhere, Tsuneshima realizes all the anomalies are in dungeons Kisaragi cleared, and she is not buying that it is a coincidence. Kisaragi tells Rin there is no holding back this time, they are going all out. And she is on board, the 2 of them immediately blasting off toward the boss room. They arrive at the massive flaming boss door in what feels like seconds. As the agent with glasses gives the order over comms, everyone enters at once. This blonde agent immediately chimes in that he will not need backup thanks, but Tsuneshima warns him not to be an idiot, his dungeon is the most dangerous. Even the glasses agent is sweating, begging him not to overdo it in there. Which the blonde guy just smirks at, saying he will probably be the one doing the rescuing. He caps it off with a smug "So, do not die, what a morale booster." Rin just quietly notes that he sounds like a man who is prepared to die himself, and Kisaragi knows she is right, already planning to use that to bail him out. With all the friendly banter done, the teams get ready for the signal to go, and all 4 boss doors begin to swing open at the exact same time. Letting Kisaragi and Rin step into the blinding light of their arena, waiting for one team is a hulking, red-eyed Oni warrior, while Tsuneshima finds herself facing a giant, flaming salamander. This agent with glasses gets to fight a classic super evil-looking lick, and Mr. I Do Not Need Backup is staring down a massive, armored demon lord. Watching all 4 fights from the shadows is a mysterious figure monitoring them through portals. And it is Heimdall already wondering which of the heroes is going to be eliminated first. Their boss is the Kobold King, except he has had a serious demonic glow-up. And while Rin is shocked, Kisaragi just jokes that he must have been on a diet. This new and improved king immediately winds up for a massive swing. But Kisaragi realizes Heimdall is not here, meaning another team is in serious danger. This beast does not care, lunging forward with a furious roar to tear them apart. So Kisaragi tells Rin to finish this quickly, prepping his own attack. But she just tells him to handle support. She has got this one. She leaps right into the monster's face, totally fearless and ready to clash, her golden blade meeting its massive sword in a blinding arc of light. Rin holds the line with a determined look, not giving a single inch, and she actually pushes the giant beast back with pure strength, creating a huge shockwave from the impact of their weapons. She dodges a follow-up strike, spinning through the air like a pro while the Kobold King powers up for another devastating attack. Now it is her turn, charging straight in for a powerful counter, and their blades clash again, sparks flying everywhere in the boss room. This monster actually looks surprised, like it cannot believe her power, as Rin unleashes a massive wave of golden energy from her sword. This attack slams into the ground in a brilliant explosion of light, catching the Kobold King in the blast as it roars in fury. Rin follows up with a massive golden beam from her sword, blasting the king from above, and she has got this look of pure, savage satisfaction on her face, as the Kobold King gets absolutely engulfed in a pillar of light and fire. Kisaragi adds his own firepower, saying he has been waiting for her to shine, leaving the monster totally stunned by the coordinated assault, and with a single command, Kisaragi detonates the whole thing, which results in an explosion that basically clears the entire room. He asks if she maybe went a little overboard, but Rin says she could not risk it surviving. They are left standing on the edge of a massive, smoking crater. Talk about overkill. Kisaragi immediately gets on comms, reporting they are done and asking how everyone else is doing. Tsuneshima checks in from her ice-covered dungeon, confirming her team is finished too. And the agent with glasses reports success from his fiery arena, asking about the last guy. Kisaragi's face falls as he calls out for the blonde agent, getting nothing but static. Turns out Mr. I Do Not Need Backup hit the jackpot. He has found Heimdall. This agent Utori is not impressed, demanding to know who this guy is and what he wants. Heimdall just calls him the strongest human, saying once he is gone, the rest are easy pickings. But Utori fires back that he is seriously underestimating humanity. It is confidence, not arrogance. He grabs his head, looking like he is about to unleash his full power, and just erupts in a storm of golden lightning, eyes glowing with rage, as Kisaragi listens in horror to the sounds of an insane battle starting on the other end. Kisaragi is ready to bolt, yelling that Utori is going to die, but Rin stops him, while Tsuneshima asks over comms if he even knows who Utori is fighting. And the glasses agent chimes in, panicked, that they have to get there immediately. A new voice suddenly cuts them all off, asking if they really think he will let them, and a ball of dark energy appears as the voice says he has changed his mind about a group execution, revealing Heimdall, who now plans to kill them one by one to break their will. Rin just deadpans that gods are really arrogant, comparing him to another one they fought, which gets Kisaragi fired up, telling the god not to underestimate humanity. But Rin steps forward, telling Kisaragi to go help Utori and leave this guy to her, and Loki pops in from the side, agreeing that Rin is right. Then she reveals this is just an avatar, taunting Heimdall that his real body is the true target. Heimdall admits it is a clone, but claims it is just as strong, doubting Rin is any match for it. So a massive golden slash immediately rips through the air to answer that challenge, slamming right into Heimdall's avatar in a blinding explosion of light. Rin insists she will be fine, telling Kisaragi to just go already, and he closes his eyes, finally agreeing to trust her with this. Powering up, our boy tells both Rin and Loki that he is counting on them, leaving the three of them in a tense standoff across the battlefield. Heimdall's avatar looks thoroughly unimpressed, promising to make them pay for their confidence. As Rin unleashes a massive holy sword attack right in his face, Heimdall's avatar recognizes Rin's full power is finally unlocked, and she unleashes a massive holy beam, promising this will not be easy for him. Meanwhile, the agent with glasses is down for the count, wondering if he is fighting a god, and another Heimdall avatar just calls him pathetic, a real morale booster. Suddenly, a volley of light spears crashes down, interrupting the monologue. As Kisaragi arrives just in time, checking on the downed agent, this avatar greets him as the god killer, but Kisaragi says he is not the one fighting. Instead, he summons his own squad of shadowy monsters to take over. Heimdall's clone looks absolutely stunned, like he cannot believe his eyes, while our boy just gives him this terrifyingly smug look back. This god's avatar narrows his eyes, trying to process what is happening. And in another dungeon, a different avatar is taunting Tsuneshima, calling her an ice queen. He then lobs a fireball at her because of course he uses fire against ice. But Kisaragi teleports in there too, much to Tsuneshima's shock. This time he summons a powerful-looking blonde warrior to handle things, who looks thrilled, saying she has been waiting and is ready for her first fight. And this Heimdall avatar is also shocked, realizing Kisaragi planned for all of this. Kisaragi just smirks, saying of course he'd be ready for a god declaring war.